Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, getting better. I am slowly getting better from being sick. I'm recovering, so please forgive me for my voice. But I'm joined in sickness by Kelsey Lewin.
Yeah, I'm also sick, so sorry about how I sound, and sorry I'm on the floor of my childhood bedroom. There was a desk in here, and there's no longer a desk in here, I discovered, so...
Okay, everything's being sold off piecemeal. Do you have any, like, good old childhood treasures in the house? Like, since you're the host of Collector Corner and all?
Yeah, probably. I mean, like, yearbooks and stuff. Like, I'll have to look around, but I'm sure I've got something in here.
Yeah, we'll need that at some point. Also joined by the peak of health, Kyle Hilliard.
Hello. I feel like I don't sound very healthy, but I feel great.
Interesting.
What's going on?
Joined by Janet Garcia as well.
Hello.
Hang on. Kelsey, she's trying to show something to the screen, but the internet connection's a little rough.
Oh, it's cute.
Is that baby Kelsey?
I found... It's baby Kelsey. This is my Girl Scout troop in 1999.
Yep.
That's perfect. All right, that's...
it's just drawings. It's not... Although here's a wonderful drawing that I did.
Wow. Is that to scale? You Roblox before Roblox existed.
Yeah. I don't know why my hands are brown, but, you know.
Yeah.
Can you still do Girl Scout skill things? Like, could you, like, you know, whittle something if you needed to?
Escort the elderly?
You know, we didn't learn any of that stuff.
Oh, that's
I could sell you some cookies.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I could sell you some cookies.
Those Thin Mints. Oh, yeah.
Sarah Pazorski's here as well. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah. Do you have any cute memorabilia behind you?
I mean, pretty much everything, but I don't think anything is from my childhood.
Yeah. All right.
These are all toys that I collected in adulthood.
Like real people, Kelsey.
Yeah.
I have this bear that I had when I was a kid.
All right. Hey, that's something.
Fast.
That's really not bad. I'll take it. On this episode...
I have my old Game Boy Advances. One of them is my sister. Don't tell her I stole it.
I think we should all wait like 5 seconds, have Ben get halfway through his sentence, and then just interrupt him again.
That's what you get for packing a lot of people on the podcast. I'm excited about this episode of the podcast because last week we packed a ton of people on, and this week we're also rotating through and packing damn near everybody on again. So we have a lot to cover. We're talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We've all been playing it. We'll unpack that. That's right.
I didn't know that.
Well, come on, man. We can take a break. You can go play the other one. Then we're going to be talking about Marvel's Midnight Suns, the new game from the XCOM team over there at Firaxis. Then we're talking about... Sarah, I'm excited about this. Sarah's going to be talking about Tactics Ogre Reborn, and I think she's going to really open up her brain and let us know how smart she is, because this is a smart person game, and I'm very happy that you're playing it. Yeah, absolutely.
I thought it was a fashion game.
Okay, well, there's a lot to unpack here. Then Jacob Geller's going to be joining us. Leo Vader's going to be joining us. We have a lot of other stuff to talk about as well. And then back after the show, we have a ton of great community questions where Sarah's sister might come up once more. So the front end of the show. We'll see how it goes. Hey, just
She's
a reminder.
writing into the show.
That's right. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching and listening to this. Happy Thanksgiving if you're in the States and you're watching or listening to this very early. Just a reminder. We are, I would say, dangerously close. We are about 100 new supporters away on Patreon from hitting our new Patreon goal of streaming a cozy holiday feast. So as you're gathering with the family and eating Thanksgiving meals, and you're thinking, you know what, I would like to see the MinnMax crew do this in their studio, and I would like a lot of wine to be consumed and a lot of good food to be had and merriment by all, and then it'll turn sour and we'll all start arguing with each other, I'm sure, after the first bottle of wine. But you can help make that happen by supporting MinnMax on Patreon at the $2 tier. If you've liked any of our content recently, the Big Thanksgiving Joke-a-thon, which is up on YouTube and in the bonus podcast feed, the Deepest Dive in God of War Ragnarok, if you want to compete in Trivia Tower, which is coming up Monday, November 28th, you can jump in at that $2 tier and help us hit that goal. We would greatly appreciate it. All right, Pokemon, everybody. Bring out your Pokemon. We got a new one. This is the crew, in addition to Kyle now, that did the deepest dive in Pokemon Legends Arceus. So it's fun to have this at the beginning and ending of the year. But Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is out. Just trying to get a frame of reference for everybody where we're at. How much have you played, Kelsey?
I've got like 3 badges and 2 Titans and one secret base, star base. I don't know. Like I'm getting there, but I'm not like super far in.
Okay, no, that's perfect. Kyle, you've played a lot, right?
Not really. 1 badge, 1 Titan.
Okay.
Yeah, so less than Kelsey.
Okay, but you can sound happier about it.
To get in there.
All right.
See what it's like.
Sarah, you just did one stream of this thing?
I did, but I have been playing it since. I'm also got 2 Titans, 2 badges. But mostly I've just been like stuck and lost.
Lost in an
I don't know.
open
I'm
world
finding
game.
it kind of difficult to like find my... Like I'm finding it difficult to traverse.
So my advice, because I was feeling the exact same way, is do some Titans, because they give you like more abilities to traverse. Like I just got the ability to swim, and all of a sudden everything's not so hard anymore. So that's my next goal, is just do a bunch of the Titans.
Well, I've been really leaning on the backwards jump that you can do. Like if you turn your lizard around and jump, you can like backwards skyward horse up rocks, which is probably why I'm getting stuck so much.
Right.
But God, it's just so easy.
Yeah.
But I did have that moment. I didn't understand that that's what the Titans rewarded you with, where I was like, I'm just going to go after the badges. And then I went up a hill and there were like rocks rolling down me. And then, I did the fight and stuff. And then it's like, oh, now you can swim. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to drop everything for the Titans now. I don't need badges.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so that first big break out of the city, if they go to the east or the west, was it go to the east? Is that what it is, to go to the first Titan and stuff?
I went west to get badges, but I came across a Titan just exploring.
Oh, interesting.
So everything in this game rewards you in some way, which is, I think, why it's so effective as a Pokemon game. I mean, I'm sure we will get into all the problems this game has, but the sort of like, no matter what... The sort of like, no matter what you're doing, you're making progress thing is really good in this. So like badges you still need, because that's how Pokemon up to like a certain level will obey you, just like in the old games. And then the Titans will give you like better ways to get around the world. And I just finished a Starbase and I forget what it did. It did something. Oh, I got a ton of TMs unlocked.
Oh, nice. Hey, Janet, you're involved as well. How much have you been playing?
I feel like I did like 4 hours on stream and then like a couple hours outside of that, but I haven't done any of the Titans, any of the badges, I've just been out there living in the world and just kind of roaming around. I'm finally about to take on, I think, my first gym, just because it's like nearby. I'm like, okay, who are you? Let me grab the opposite, throw that on my team. So I'm working on doing that, and I haven't executed that yet, but that's my next step. I have seen some of the Titan battles though, because my whole family's playing. It's like the only game that everyone will buy and play at the same time.
That's
like
cute.
So I've seen my sister-in-law play. She's like further along. So I saw her do like a bunch of Titan battles. I saw like my Pokemon evolve all the way because I saw hers already evolve. So I'm like, I guess this is almost like experiencing it myself. Not really. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
I am the earliest in this game. I have not had that much time to dive in. I still have yet to have the magic of this game kick in, because if I may paint with a broad brush, seems to be, this is about what we've always wanted, but it's a monkey's paw situation because, boy, it ain't running. Is that where you're at roughly, Kelsey?
Yeah, I think that nails it. It's like this, they really figured it out, and they did not figure out how to actually make a video game.
Well, also, it's like, I would love to know, like, the most talented development team in the world. Who knows who it is at this point? Kyle, who is it at this point, do you think?
Sony Santa Monica.
Let's say Sony Santa Monica. Could they have made this thing run better on the Switch? Like, everyone likes to point fingers. Oh.
Yes, they could have.
Yeah.
I played Xenoblade Chronicles.
I mean, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So Monolith, if they're the greatest developers in the world, you're absolutely right. But this thing is, the Switch hardware is getting long in the tooth, and Game Freak has never been technically the most proficient studio, not really the biggest development team, which I'm sure is a gigantic part of it. And then it is the obvious takeaway of right when they announced this game, and everybody said, what are you talking? Legends Arceus just came out in January. How can they possibly crank this out in time? And the answer is, maybe they needed some more time after all.
If I could go back in time and sacrifice Arceus for a better Scarlet and Violet, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Wait, really?
I would do it in a heartbeat.
I think I would too. Yeah.
Whoa,
and I really liked Arceus. Like, I really liked that game, but I think I would too.
That's really interesting because I'm certainly going into it like I really loved Arceus, and in this game it's like, it's not quite Arceus. I don't know. It kind of artistically it's fallen a little bit flat for me visually and everything. And then just having those moments early on of like, okay, it's not Arceus. Like I loved being able to walk around and throw a Pokeball in Arceus. I love being able to run around with a character in combat. Arceus just felt so much more active.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that, to be clear. You can throw a Pokeball. It's different, obviously.
Well, it's to battle, though.
You can't throw a Pokeball to catch it.
Yes, exactly.
Which I do wish had been brought back.
Like something that and the reason we were talking before like recording the podcast and I mentioned like, was Ben right? I think I'm finally starting to turn to the dark side of is Pokemon bad?
Wait,
okay, so
what?
Hear me out. So I played it on stream and I loved the game on stream. Like I was having a really fun time. I didn't run into too many performance issues just because I was really early on. And I'm like, yep, it's cool. There's still standing Fido. Dog, amazing. I named him Cinnabon. He's my best friend. I'm having a blast. Then I like sit down later to play. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll go around and catch them because it's cool to collect them. And I love like a lot of aspects of things they've done in this game. But one thing that really is starting to frustrate me at this point is how many times they'll be like, hey, we have a new game. Here's like, 3 reworked ideas and 7 kind of newish ideas or new takes. And like of those 7, like 5 of them are really good. And then the new game, they're like, we only kept 1 of the really good ones. And then we brought this new other thing. And I'm like, what happened to the other stuff that like sometimes stuff carries over, like the ability to see, Pokemon in the overworld, the removal of random encounters for the most part. They've definitely made strides, but every now and then they have like this really good idea and they're just like, that was last year. And now we're not doing that. Things like that have frustrated me. I also think there's a lot of stuff that is not as fleshed out as it could be, even just from a mechanical standpoint, like the act of having a school. That should be the coolest thing in the world. Right. But instead it's like, these are just elaborate tutorials that don't give you almost anything.
We spent 20 minutes in school. 20 minutes, and I didn't even have to go to class.
Yeah, as it was building up.
I didn't go to class, and the next day they were like, get out, it's summer break. And I'm like, wait, I haven't even been to class yet.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like Pokemon Hogwarts. And it's like, all right, I'm going to go to biology class. And then the biology teacher's like, yeah, you press a ZR out there to have your Pokemon run around. It's like, this is biology? What's happening here?
And then he was like, but you're not allowed to let your Pokemon run around indoors? False. Why do I keep seeing Pokemon indoors? Okay? But I can't bring my Pokemon out indoors?
You're not
a double standard.
Right.
Speaking of doors, too, there's not a lot of, and I haven't gone to a lot of towns, but again, my sister's played more, and she's like, there aren't as many, like, buildings to go into in this one, like residential.
Yeah.
And like, where are like the little side quests of like, someone who's like, can you give me a Pokemon that looks like a leaf? And then you do, and they're like, thanks, or like, show me what, like little stuff like that.
I found one person that wanted to trade, but yeah, there's no like insides of buildings anymore, which again, I mean, this all just goes back to like, this game had to be made way too fast. Like, any like clothing store you go into, restaurant you go into, whatever, like you just go to a menu screen when you open the door. And like, to me, Pokemon doesn't do that. Like, they always, you open the door, and I'm not saying I need that in a game, like it's not necessary, but like there's a lot of these clear little signs. It's like they probably only did it that way because they didn't have a whole heck of a lot of time to work on this.
Yeah, I feel like we started on maybe a negative note, but I mean, everybody's enjoying it more or less. Janet, you're kind of blooms a little off the rose for the overall series at this point, but everyone else is pretty warm on it.
This is the most excited I've been about a mainline Pokemon game since maybe X and Y. Like, all those things that you guys are complaining about are totally reasonable. Like, the school is short, you can't go indoors. I don't care. Like, I'm happy to sacrifice all that to fight Pokemon without engaging in a turn-based battle. Like,
just out of the
and being able to explore like just how I want. Like, that stuff's huge. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like the cyberpunk discussions, right? Where it's like totally reasonable to complain about the technical shortcomings. Right. Absolutely, there are issues here that detract from the game. But like, if you can kind of look past that and actually examine the game, for me anyway, like it's all stuff that I'm really excited about, and like I'm enjoying my time with it so far.
And it's just that freedom, that sense of adventure, of being able to go wherever you want to go, which is what we've been screaming about. I mean, you can go to the hardest gym early on in the game, conceivably, right? Like, that's incredible.
But I also just like that feeling of walking over a hill and seeing the Pokemon Center like cresting in the horizon and just having that goal that I can walk toward, and I can either engage with the Pokemon on the way there and the trainers too, by the way. You can just totally ignore the trainers as well, which I like. So that stuff I'm really enjoying. Like I've been having a good time with it despite the technical issues.
Yeah, as I commit several hit and runs on my way to the Pokemon Center because the Pokemon are so small.
Yeah, what the hell?
I do not see them.
Some of them are really small.
I've been running over Smolives left and right. Like I can't make it 5 feet without running over something, and then automatically engages you in a battle. And I'm like, what did I even hit? What happened?
You just got to be the bully. You just got to press R1 on every Pokemon you see.
Yeah, it is a weird idea.
Clear the path.
It is wild. Yeah, you can just kind of like have your Pokemon leading the party, just like jut out, take them out. It's like, what, a fourth of the XP? But just minimizing the amount of random battles, or just not random, but I guess just battles in this game is just, it feels like a lifesaver. It's so nice. And other just small things, which I don't think was an Arceus, so I have to go back and look. But just having the characters out in the world, they all have little speech bubbles above their head for what they're going to say. And getting rid of that punishment in a Pokemon game of like, I guess I should talk to everybody. So I run up and talk to them and they say, I like shorts, or other epiphanies like that, you know? And it's just like, it's so nice to be like, I'm not gonna even waste my time. I'll run by you and I'll see that nonsense and then I'll keep on moving. Or I can know if I wanna extend it and really dive into this discussion about the sun goes up in the morning and it's warm outside, or whatever standard Pokemon dialogue's happening there.
Also, what's going on with is there no day-night cycle in the game? Like, what's the situation there? Is it based on our clock, or is it
No,
not?
it's like,
It's just kind of long.
it's like Harvest Moon level, but
Okay.
maybe a little bit slower than that. Like it is definitely, the day is passing, and it's like, I don't know, you probably get one cycle every like hour, if I had to guess, or 40
Really?
minutes or something like that.
I feel like I was out there in broad daylight for like 6 hours. I don't know.
Is
There are a
Sarah,
lot of ghosts at night.
that sounds
gas
great.
leaks,
Sarah, I saw bits of your stream, and you seem to be sticking with a theme, which is just chef's kiss. You want to just walk us through your silly streams, Sarah?
Well, I wanted, it's a lot more fun when you like pick a Pokemon theme,
Right?
And just like the best Pokemon. So I was inspired by Smoliv and the bread dog, and I decided my team was going to be Olive Garden themed.
That's very good.
So I've been trying to collect Pokemon that are like reminiscent of Olive Garden, or whose names I could just like tweak to make it a little more Italian. So I have a Smoliv. Yeah. So I have a Smoliv that I named Smoliv Garden. My Fido is unlimited breadsticks. I'm kind of going in order of the menu, and then I got a Wooper, which I named Swooper Salad.
Okay.
Because then they ask you if you want salad.
That's good.
And I got a Palmy that I named Pasta, but it's Pasta.
Yeah, that's great.
My Fuecoco is sauce, but I always toss out my starter. So who knows what he'll end up as.
What?
Hit the curb, get out of here.
Wow.
Yeah, you're not good enough. You're not cute enough, you don't match our vibes. And then I got a Phanpy. Yeah. Well, it's like an apple.
Yeah.
But then it evolves into just a big alligator.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
There's an apple?
It's a pepper.
like an alligator.
He's like
It's got a little apple head.
It's a pepper Pokemon, Kelsey? You're cutting out.
Then
What?
he becomes a banana gator. Banana alligator? I don't
There's
work.
that apple.
Do you guys not
Pokemon
toss
from-
your
there's
starters?
Appleton from Sword and Shield. I don't know if he's in here.
Yeah, you'll have to get him. Well, that's more of an Applebee's theme. That gets confusing, I think. No,
true.
Sarah, I would say under 5%
You
of
keep
Pokemon
your
players.
starters?
Absolutely, everybody keeps their
But
starters.
there's better Pokemon.
Yeah, but I mean, rarely. And this one you have the deep bond with. Like, that's.
Yeah, that's like the like it's the OG one. I always
You're
keep
the
them.
weird one, Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah, don't pretend like.
That's super weird.
Yeah.
Honestly,
No, it's
go
not.
back and rest.
We gotta optimize
Jesus.
for cuteness.
But yeah, what was it? The Don fan was called what? Just real quick.
Oh yeah, when you're here, you're fam. But like, you only have 12 characters,
Right,
So
right.
it's like when you're her, you're fam.
Just squeezing it into the most awkward, delightful way. Fun fact, it's not quite a Olive Garden, but I remember being tickled, Kyle, when we visited Game Freak that first time, that like right next to Carrot Tower where their office is, there's just a Denny's. So I like the idea of like everyone from Game Freak going to lunch at Denny's over and over again. It's such a weird combination of cultures and all this. Kelsey, you're doing your cool bird party?
Yeah, oh my god, there's so many birds in this game.
And beyond that, like it's generally those moments are amazing of just coming over a hill again and seeing just like a whole pack of bird Pokemon. And it's like, oh, I've never seen like a flock together like this. Even like Arceus is kind of like, all right, one Pokemon moving around, but they're moving in herds. It's cool to just run through a crowd.
I like because in Arceus they would either attack you or run away from you.
Yeah.
But in this game, I'll just be staring at something or I'll be in a cutscene, and then I exit the cutscene and there's like a whole herd of them just staring at me. And I'm like, what do you want from me? They're just staring. They literally circle you.
Guys, that's where you go up to, you go and stand next to them and you press R1 a bunch and you just destroy them all.
Bully.
He does
the terror of
standing here in herds, just like slowly, passively killing everybody, Kyle? Is that what's going on?
It is alarming.
I evolved Fuecoco before even going to school, thanks to that strategy.
What? Oh my god!
You do feel like a maniac, like a serial killer running around the world to kill you, or I guess they're passing out. So what? Just the field is covered.
You guys are running around the world differently than I literally only. I mean, sometimes I throw them out just to get some of the XP, and it's cute when it's like, oh look, he picked up this like Pokeball for me, like that's adorable. But I mostly am just like, I'm just looking for the new. If you're not new, like. That's it. Like, I'm not engaging with, like, anything else.
Kelsey, have you seen Hitchcock's The Birds?
A very long time ago.
Okay. Are you a fan of it because the birds are in power, or is it too much for you as a big fan?
I don't know that I'm like an advocate for birds just because I like birds. Like, I don't know that I'm like, yes, birds should murder people.
I just assumed.
That's the better
you don't know that you think that.
Yeah, interesting. How convenient.
Should we be concerned? Haven't decided yet.
Okay, well, it's a good movie. But your bird party is fleshed out. It's looking good. It's not just a bunch of fletchlings in there.
There's so many birds that I keep swapping birds. Like, there's too many options. Birds. So I'm trying to mostly use the newer ones just because that feels right. But then like they have all my favorites in it too. So it's just, I don't know. It's a lot. I really am liking, there's like a psychic bird that is a pure psychic type. That is like the first evolution just kind of looks like a marshmallow peep and is perfect. And then it becomes like a cool ostrich. So that's probably my favorite so far of the new ones. But
Flittle?
Flittle.
Oh, I was wondering. I was so confused because Flittle looks like a tiny alien, and then it turns into an ostrich.
It's got beak.
They're really with some of these newer Pokemon, they're really like stretching the laws of what it can and cannot become.
Yeah, that was maybe a while ago. Now we're off the deep end, but I've liked the newer stuff so far that I've seen. It's fun. Like, I guess with Arceus, I kind of missed that idea of like, oh, it's fun to see Pokemon with Arceus. It's like, oh, this one's in. Whereas this is like, I don't even know what I'm looking at right now, which is a fun.
Probably because you can't see it because it's so small.
Everything is so small.
Some of them are too small.
When you're playing on handheld, you're like.
Yes. Yeah, it's like 3 pixels.
Someone in town that was like, I know the sizes of all of them. If you show me one of them, I'll tell you if he's big or if he's not big. And I was like, how about this one? They're like, it's normal. And they're like, that one's the chonkers. And I'm like, is this for anything? Like, I was like, is this for anything? Does this do anything for me?
I don't know if it does anything, but when you're making, I don't know if you guys have played around with like making sandwiches or eating food or any of that stuff yet, but some of the sandwich perks are like, you're more likely to find big Pokemon. Right. And like, it'll just be like a larger version of whatever. And like, you'll see it in the overworld. It will look a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller.
Okay.
I don't know if it does anything.
Oh my God. Now I want to just eat a bunch of sandwiches and be like, we're going on a big run. And it's just trying to get the biggest of all the Pokemon. There is a lot of fun to be had. I know I think for me, what I'm realizing, and it's funny because it's like, oh, how the turntables, Hanson. Because I think I'm finally, I wouldn't say fatigued because I still really love Pokemon. But at the same time, like, I re-entered Pokemon during Alpha Sapphire Omega Ruby. I only played like a teeny bit of X and Y because then Sword and Shield came out. But since Alpha Sapphire, I've been in on it every year, all of it, beating the game. So now I'm like, for me, some of the stuff that was like new and fresh, like, yeah, we did that before, and like I see that it's evolving and that's good holistically, but I can't help but be like a little bit like to see now all of the parts for everything, because I think when you take those long breaks, what's nice is that so much has changed that it's like, oh, this is like a whole new thing. This is way different than before. But having played like Sword and Shield, having played Arceus, it's like, yes, this is an evolution of exploration in the right direction. But at the same time, there's like other things that maybe aren't done quite as well. And I really just wish I could mix and match all of them to make one really good game.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that, Janet, is like, this game totally could have waited a year. Like just on terms of like sales and improving it. Like no one would have been upset that there was not a new mainline Pokemon this year, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Catherine Gilbert wrote in and she asked, should I wait for Pokemon to get less wanky before buying it? Or is it worth buying?
Will it get less?
I doubt
it's not going to get better.
The way I would describe it is the game is borderline haunted. Like I haven't encountered any like game-breaking bugs, but it's haunted. Like out of the corner of your eye, you'll just see a floating Pokeball. Yeah. Suddenly someone will just disappear. Suddenly something will just fall out of the sky. Like it is haunted. The game is possessed.
I got out of a battle and like it decided that my character needed to move like 3 feet over when the battle ended, and that was off of a cliff. So then I just battle ended and I fell off a cliff.
It seems like,
I mean, there was a day one patch, if you guys can believe it was worse.
That is wild.
So I am hopeful that they're patching it and will improve it.
Yeah, mainly, I mean, what I've seen so far is just, it's a lot of that stuff. And I was playing handheld, but just, everything beyond 20 feet is just moving at like 5 to 10 frames per second. It's like, oh my God, you guys. And even just rotating on the mini map, which is on the screen at all times, even that is chugging. Like that mini map's moving at like 15 frames per second. It's like, of all the things, this is in my face at all times. And it just looks like trash. And maybe, is that still in dock mode? Is it still a chuggy mini map there?
In dock mode, it's worse.
Well, dock it's worse.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Because it's trying to render.
Why.
I think it's like the dock tries to like render it a little bit higher, and because it's like pushing a little bit harder, I noticed a lot worse in terms of like chugging and like moving the camera and like bugs.
Is it handheld 720 docked 1080?
That's usually the default. Yeah, I don't know exactly how this one's pulling it off and whatnot, but the clips are flying around. It seems like online mode, which we should mention. I mean, it's co-op. Has anybody tried the co-op stuff?
I've played the co-op stuff.
Yeah? How is it?
I think it's really cool that you can go into someone else's world and essentially continue playing your own game.
Yeah, that's great.
You can catch Pokemon, you can battle trainers. I did like a Titan. And like you don't play together, you play next to each other, but you can see each other in the overworld.
You did a Titan in someone else's world?
Yeah. And it counted in my world. Yeah, it did.
Wow, that's cool.
It's so cool. That's all I've wanted from a Pokemon game. Like, I don't want to battle the other person. I just want to play next to them.
Right.
And we did have like, they did like hard crash, but instead of like kicking me out and taking all my data, it literally just like bumped me back to my world and I didn't lose anything.
All right.
So, yeah, I'm honestly really impressed because the Animal Crossing, if one person lost connection, it all went to
yeah.
But in this game, it's surprisingly... there's really scary long leg bug glitches, but
that's the thing. It seems like in online mode in particular, there's a lot of bugs and nonsense packing in there. Like, yeah, I mean, some of those clips floating around Twitter are unbelievable.
Drive around someone else's Pokemon battle. Like they were trying to catch something, and I could park my bike on the Pokemon they were fighting, and they could see me, and like you could literally just stand in front of the camera and just block their entire view of the battle.
I love that.
That's fun.
I was literally doing wheelies on it.
I gotta try that for sure. The terastallizing, it's an interesting idea to have a Pokemon change type and stuff. Hang on, people are booing Are you against beautiful chandelier Pokemon?
I don't know. I don't like these new gimmicks.
It is a gimmick, but at least the gimmick is
gimmicks out of my game.
The gimmick is
an
at least
okay gimmick.
Yeah, it's changing the strategy a little bit of like, okay, the type is being shifted up. It's better than just now it's bigger. Or which one do people love? Mega Evolutions people love, and they're against everything else.
I like the Gigantamax. It was awesome that they were bigger. Like the further we get from Sword and Shield, and I liked Sword and Shield when it came out. Like Sword and Shield hits. Sword and Shield is underrated. Like it had like gigantic Pokemon.
No.
You were freaking fighting in a soccer stadium. Yeah. Like, okay, sure. We were in the desert and then snow like 2 feet later because it was too small. But yeah, I love Sword and Shield. That game slaps. But the terastallizing, honestly too, like I was just clicking A through these boxes. I'm like, what does this do again? Like, what am I looking at here? I feel like it's probably my least favorite gimmick they've had in a while, but it's one of the most beautiful looking, and I'm all about the aesthetic. So I'm like, all I see is a pig with a big heart on its head, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, they all look like jewelry now. I guess that's the whole thing. But yeah, I like just my favorite thing about Arceus was just like feeling a sense of danger in the Pokemon world, which you never really feel. But I was shaking in my boots playing that game. But early on in this game, at least, I had that moment too of just like, finding a glowing Diglett in the field. I'm like, what is this guy? Is this like a shiny? What's happening? And then going up, it's like, oh no, this is like a terastallizing Diglett, and it's like level 17, and it's kicking my ass in that early stage of the game. But then also it has arena trap ability, so I'm stuck with this. Like, actually have those moments of like, I'm scared of this Diglett right now. It's a very fun, rare feeling in Pokemon, but thank God they're inching in that direction.
And there's no fall damage.
Right.
Which I love, because in Arceus, we all jumped off that cliff the minute we got that deer, and we died.
Yeah. Rich Carrasco writes in, speaking to my heart, saying, isn't it a bit odd how Game Freak hasn't said anything about the issues with Scarlet and Violet? I was hoping for at least like a CD Projekt Red style comment that says they're going to fix the game. I do believe there's a great game buried underneath the performance problems, and I'm unsure if I should wait for a patch or just request a refund. This is, the most frustrating thing in the world. And I remember we talked about it in the deepest dive for Pokemon Legends Arceus as well, about just, as far as I can see, 0 interviews with Game Freak about Arceus or Pokemon Scarlet Violet. The biggest leap the studio has taken since the inception of Pokemon, releasing 2 of these things in 1 year that are such a wild change up to the formula, and radio silence. And then the game comes out and it's a disaster tech-wise, radio silence. That stuff is unforgivable.
Well, you and Kyle would know better than us, but like, I don't know, how much of it do you think is like they're not allowed to speak to the media right now because they're sort of in this weird, triangular agreement with the Pokemon Company and Nintendo? Like, maybe it's like Nintendo's like, we're going to be the PR for this because we don't trust you guys, or I have no idea.
I don't think it's that case, no.
Yeah. I mean, like things change. We're talking like this is years ago when Hanson and I went to visit them and stuff like that. My perspective based on that, and Hanson even has some more because he went for Sword and Shield again, but they seem very in charge of their own messaging. Like Nintendo is just a distributor of the game. So I think that they're just choosing not to, because what do they gain from doing
exactly? And especially after with Sword and Shield, there was so much hullabaloo about the national decks and all that stuff. I think they just realized at a certain point, if we keep our mouths shut, we'll still sell a gazillion copies and everything will move on. And so they're under no pressure or obligation to speak to the press. But, with a company that big and a property this hot, it's unbelievable if they can get away with it. It's like, we're just not going to say anything and people will still buy it. And so Pokemon Company can just...
I don't think they're ever going to talk to anybody ever again.
Yeah. Junichi Masuda has stepped back a bit, right? He's in a different role now.
He's like higher up at the Pokemon Company, like kind of creative visionary or something at Pokemon Company instead of Game Freak now, which is interesting.
And he was who we talked to a lot. He's the person I would interview at E3. I think maybe him not being in that position, they probably just don't have anyone who's interested in doing it.
Oh, well,
that's fairly recently, wasn't it? Because that was after Arceus that got announced, I think.
I think it was. Yeah.
Sure it was.
Yeah, like I guess Omori, is Omori the director of this one? He's directed a lot in the past. He's kind of been stepping up more and more. But
I assume so.
But also, no one knows because no one's going out and talking about it. But he's struck me as a very shy guy. But certainly there's somebody within the Pokemon Company, if not Game Freak, that can talk a little bit about it. Because I would just love to know just the challenges that they've had to overcome for releasing these 2 games this year. And and
the challenges they didn't overcome.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, it's just it's a frustrating release.
You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing to gain and a lot to lose. I don't know.
So I'm looking forward to playing more Scarlet and Violet. I am open to being impressed, and I'm trying to get over my own biases if I'm just stubborn about like Arceus was the good one. I feel like I'm going in with that attitude and I'm waiting to be melted.
You liked Arceus so much. You just liked Pokemon running at you.
Yeah, well, I liked exploring and it was open enough for me. Like, I understand this is technically a seamless world compared to Arceus being open region.
This is technically more open.
Yeah, I know.
There's more even in the early hours, it does feel more open. Like Arceus definitely felt like I liked a lot of things about Arceus. I mean, I think we all did. We were all pretty positive on it on the deepest dive, but Arceus was a lot of like and then you go out, and then you come back, and then you go out, and then you come back, and then it's a lot of ping-ponging.
And then you turn it all about.
Exactly. And eventually, they're like, now you can kind of go everywhere. There are things I miss about Arceus, though. Like, I kind of wish there was some map fog, because I don't know where I've been, and everything kind of looks the same. But I want to go everywhere, because I want to pick up the little stuff on the ground. But so definitely some things I think Arceus did better with exploration. But on the whole, at least in the first like 5-6 hours, this feels like I look out and it feels endless. I know it's not actually endless, but I feel like there's so many directions to go in, and that I can just keep going.
Yeah. No, it is.
And I also feel like just there's much more to do in this game than there is in Arceus.
I'm stressed.
And,
there's too much.
Well, but it's cool because, like I said earlier, like no matter what you're doing, you are doing something productive, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, it makes every time you turn on this game, even if you are just like kind of wandering around aimlessly, like you're still kind of accomplishing something, and that feels really nice.
Is that early on they're talking about like, oh, it's the treasure hunt. And they're trying to explain the treasure hunt aspect of the school. And I was confused like in the trailers and marketing with it. And now even in the game, I'm still confused. It's like, that's just kind of their code name for do what you want in the game?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a really
as far as I
thing.
can tell, there's no actual treasure to hunt. The treasure was inside you all along or something like that.
Okay. It's just an open world game.
Get that checked out.
Just treasure hunting, everybody. All right. Anything else anybody's dying to say about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? We can always revisit it down the road. I mean, we're definitely...
You can access the box from wherever.
Oh, the box is from wherever? Okay.
That I think is amazing. The fact that I can open my box in the middle of the field and be like, let me get out this type of Pokemon. Like, it makes having multiple Pokemon at the same level so much more viable.
Right.
Like, I literally went to the grass gym and I was like, oh, let me pull my, Fuecoco out of retirement and just steamroll this. Okay. And then I stuff him back in the box and I go on my way.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
Also, speaking of box, the...
Auto heal is nice too.
The what is?
Like little auto heal button that you can just press is nice too.
That is cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. And then I love the Pokedex look this time around, where it's kind of like just a wooden shelf with like books that you're putting the names on. That looks really nice.
Even though there's a lot of like performance issues, I actually really like the art direction of this one.
Really?
I love the look of it. Just generally, the Titan. Again, I haven't fought the Titans yet, but I've seen some of them. Those designs are also very cool and very fun. I also just really like the general UI things they've done with like how it says versus when you like go in a battle. I feel like they really nailed a lot of those aspects, which is cool to see. One big beef I have is the clothing / customization is pretty weak in this game. I don't know why. I get it. Oh, you're a student. You're at school. I'm not at school all the time. I'm barely in school, but you can't not wear your uniform. Like, you can buy new shoes and a new bag and like a new hat. Also, there are hairstyles you can have that don't allow you to wear hats, which is ridiculous. They're also still doing you get your hair cut. They're like, by the way, oh, you look ugly. That's $3,000 or whatever battle points. Though I do like that you can use the battle points or the money for stuff. So I got my hair cut. It looked awful. I had to go back, spend another $3,000 just to get it back to how it was.
Ain't that the truth?
Real life.
So yeah,
I was
but
excited.
let me not wear my uniform. It's ugly. It's ugly.
I get it.
I was excited. I was just pressing all the buttons, and I think it was left on the D-pad will let you put on pants if you want. I was very excited about
That's
that.
a good control assignment. All right.
Just be careful, because I put on an expression and it was stuck until I closed and opened the game. My character's mouth was just perpetually in a state of shock until I exited. Like, literally everywhere she'd go, she was just like,
oh, this treasure hunt is so miraculous. We're treasure hunting, truly. All right, we got a lot else to talk about. We'll talk about this game more in the future. I am damn sure of it. Let's see. Kyle, we're going to say goodbye to you. Anything you want to say before we say goodbye?
Watch the God of War Ragnarok deepest dive. I've been enjoying it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, without spoilers. We are truly giving that game the discussion it deserves. And if you're upset that we're not talking about more of this podcast, it's up on YouTube and in the bonus podcast feed. Yeah, the first episode was coming up on 4 hours, and the second episode covered the middle chunk of the game, and it's 4.5 hours. But if I may say it, but very fun. Like, there's a lot to unpack in that game.
Shout out to Kyle in the first
Bossman,
episode for never realizing you guys are joking. That was a hilarious bit to me.
I know. know. He's like a really funny guy, but I guess we were just too quick for old Bossman in that thing. I don't know.
I'm excited for everyone to have beaten it so I can send you guys DMs and tell you to go do things,
that sounds
after
great.
the game. So.
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. All right, Kelsey, you can just go enjoy your Thanksgiving. Anything you want to plug?
I don't know. I've got a podcast as well. Video Game History Hour. We're coming up on 100 episodes pretty soon. So
that's
congratulations.
Right.
It's exciting.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks.
And are you still taking feedback for people to write in about their favorite moments from the 100 episodes and all that stuff?
Yes, we sure are. And there's if you go to the Game History Hour Twitter and stuff, we've got a link to it, but you can also just email the podcast at podcast@gamehistory.org.
There we go. Video Game History Hour. Check it out. Yeah, the last episode, I know you're really excited about it. It was really good about, I forget her name, forgive me, but kind of the social hub that interconnected everything in the Apple II generation.
Yes. Yeah, Lei Nooney was a fantastic guest and dropped a lot of F-bombs in that episode that we had to bleep out. So I was in your shoes a little bit there.
It's a good time. I love it. All right, Janet, we'll let you go. Anything you want to plug on this Merry Thanksgiving Day?
I'm mostly, even though this week I'm not streaming, but I'm mostly back on Twitch again after going out of town and then being sick and then being sick in town and just like 8 other things. So it's twitch.tv/GameOnysis. Go check that out and have fun playing Pokemon. I saw my boyfriend earlier yesterday was like, do you have any tape? And then only to find him taping his joystick down so he could walk in a circle to evolve a Pokemon. And damn it if that's not
was
good
he
gaming.
walking his palmy?
I'm not sure what he was walking.
Because you
and
need
I'm like,
to walk
how'd you find
the
something?
second
I looked it
evolution
up.
1,000 steps to get it to evolve.
That might have been
God.
it. That could have
I
been
used
it.
to wedge a
That's
quarter
horrible.
under the circle pad on the 3DS.
Yep.
Nice.
That's good
I
gaming.
did that one too.
Love it. All right. Thanks so much, Sarah. You can't plug anything because you're sticking around for the long haul. But
I know, I was like, I didn't realize everyone was leaving.
Yeah, sorry, but we're sticking together, damn it. Do you want to clap out at the exact same time, everybody else?
Totally.
Perfection
3,
only.
2,
Here we go.
1.
Leo Vader, Jacob Geller, welcome to the show, fellas.
The bad boys of video games.
That's right. It's about to get rowdy here because we're talking tactics, everybody. Yeah, try and calm down out there. We dare you. Marvel's Midnight Suns is a game that is out December 2nd. We have early access to the Steam version, so we've been playing just a bit of it. I am again early on. I'm sorry, I'm drowning in too many games, but I'm like an hour and a half in. Leo, how much have you played of this thing?
Yeah, I gave it the Leo hour so far.
Leo hour. Jacob Keller?
About 4.
There we go.
And here's one of the things that we can start with. I don't think you finished the tutorial until the end of hour 3.
Really? Well, it said wow, I thought it was the tutorial ending pretty early on, especially like when you go to New York and stuff like that.
There's the tutorial mission, but at hour 3, I got a message that was like, you're now free to explore the Abbey or whatever.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like, oh, so I wasn't up until this point.
Interesting. Yeah. So this is from Firaxis. This is from specifically the creative director and a lot of the team from XCOM. After XCOM 2, they moved on to Marvel's Midnight Suns. It is the tactics RPG. A little bit more, dare I say it, in the Fire Emblem arena, where it's a tactics RPG, but then you're also spending a lot of time running around an abbey and building it up, relationship building, talking with all those characters. You have your own custom character, all that stuff. Going into this thing, I was feeling very optimistic because I'm not a big tactics guy. I love XCOM Enemy Unknown. XCOM 2 I didn't finish, and I forever feel guilty about it. But I had such a good time with Sparks of Hope this year that I feel more tactics confident than I've ever been in my life. Normally, I feel like I'm not smart enough to handle this genre, but it's like, I tackled that game on normal. Maybe I'm a good gamer after all. I think I can do this. So I was going in very fresh and excited for Marvel's Midnight Suns. And I was very excited to play it on the Steam Deck, and it was not working on the Steam Deck. We'll see what it's like after release, but I messaged them and they said that it's below the required specs so far, which is kind of a bummer because like handheld tactics games.
It's one of those confusing things where XCOM also had like weirdly high system requirements, and it's like, what? You know, I know they're 3D, but like you don't have to have a high frames per second. I don't know why.
The biggest thing that said to me, oh, this is like XCOM, is that it chugs whenever something happens. Like whenever a decision is made, whenever it cuts in close, there's like a little bit of a frame skip that just barely breaks it.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's coming out on the new consoles, and then it's coming to PS4 I believe, still, at least on the site they list it, and Xbox One. We're still talking about the Xbox One, everybody. And then Switch sometime in the future. Seems like 2023 is what they have listed for Switch at least and whatnot. But yeah, we're all playing on PC. Jacob Geller, you've played the most. What do you think about Midnight Sun so far?
It's really hard to say. I love XCOM. I've played like hundreds of hours of XCOM 1 and 2. It is from the tactic side, it's really fascinating how different this is. Like how little it feels like XCOM, basically, even though it is a turn-based whatever thing where you're killing enemies. But unfortunately, my main take for the first 4 hours is just let me play the dang game.
Right.
Like, it truly I can't believe these characters won't shut up. And it's not a comment on the writing of the characters specifically. It's just, they just talk. It's like there's a lot to explain at the beginning of any of these games because there are so many systems. But the difference between this and XCOM is for every explanation, there also have to be like 3 quips because it's Marvel. And they just never stop doing it.
That is also my main takeaway. If you said like, hey, do you trust the XCOM team to make a new tactics game? It's like, absolutely, with my life. Let's see what this is going to be like. And then it's a lot of talking. And it's like, yeah, do you trust the XCOM team to make a very narrative focused experience? Like,
I mean, it's like an hour and a half in. Have you played like 2 battles? It's like they barely let you do anything.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll calm down over time and get more in that groove. But that is definitely the biggest takeaway for me too, is like I'm intrigued by the combat. I like the card system more than I thought, and we can unpack that for sure. But it's the classic problem of, I think every Marvel game runs into this of like, okay, we have a game with Tony Stark in it. Well, he's funny. So now every line this MFer says has to be a quip. And it's like, at some point, funny people just say something. They might just speak like a human being. Leo and Sarah, you know what it's like. You're superhuman comedy legends.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
See, that wasn't funny at all.
That was the least funny thing I've ever heard in my damn life. Leo, what do you think about it so far?
Yeah, it feels very Marvel-y writing. It is like, I wish we could just have the bad guy be scary and not have everybody have to be undercutting what's going on with a 3 out of 10 joke that no one will laugh at.
That's exactly it.
But I think it is really cool in a Gears Tactics type way of just, here's a card-based battler with tactics elements with an absurd amount of production value, with the most production value a card game has ever gotten. Like, the animations look great. There's Blade you get early on, and he can chain attacks between 2 enemies, and him flowing between those 2 enemies, no matter where they are, looks amazing. Like, animations like that are really impressive and make it satisfying as a card game.
Totally, yeah. I had that same thought too of just, when we're talking about Sparks of Hope, it's like, I'm so glad that tactics games are getting these big budget treatments, and looking at this, it's like, this feels more expensive than it needed to be, but I love that idea. And the card thing obviously is the big sticking point for a lot of people. We're like, I'm not really into deck builders. What does that mean exactly? But as someone who doesn't traditionally like deck builders, I'm at least open to this so far, because it's just randomizing the cards that you're getting. And it's kind of cool to have it in the combat, not be like, all right, this character's turn. Now this character's turn. Now this character's turn. It's like, hey, all the cards are up and certain characters have certain moves, and it's all just one big lump thing. Choose who does what. And it kind of speeds up, I feel like, the tactics instead of swapping to Spider-Man, then Wolverine, then this and that,
Yeah, it's really, one of the reasons that it's like, even though I have kind of issues with it, and at this point I'm skipping a lot of the dialogue, like, I'm going to keep playing because there are like 2 parts of a card building game generally, which is like how to play the hand you're dealt and how to shuffle your deck so you get good hands. It's like the kind of the small scale and the large scale thing. And at the beginning, there's really not that much of changing your deck. It's really just kind of like, you have these cards, now learn how to play them, and that's really fun. But there are so many characters, and they each have individual decks that, like, the possibilities for what you can do with them seem nuts, but also kind of overwhelming, in that there are like 9 characters, and I haven't even got like Wolverine yet or whatever. Wow. And so like the idea of all of them having individual decks, and then thinking about teams having 3 decks working together and like the combinations they're in is kind of dizzying.
Yeah, we did an interview on MinnMax's YouTube channel and also in the bonus podcast feed for Patreon supporters with Jake Solomon, the game's creative director. And it's interesting talking to him about just the process of this game being greenlit, where it's like, okay, the people at Marvel Games were big fans of XCOM. So then they reached out to the team like, hey, do you want to make a Marvel game? Like, yeah, absolutely. Marvel XCOM, let's do it. And then they realized like, the XCOM standards, it doesn't really work when combining with Marvel. Like, it's dumb to have Spider-Man missing shots left and right, for example, you know? So they really had to like strip everything down to the core and kind of rebuild a new style tactics game. But they said that one of the cornerstones that they talked about early on when they were talking about the card system, whether or not they wanted to do it, is they're like, well, Slay the Spire is one of the greatest games of all time. It pulls it off. So if we just kind of get close to that, I think we'll be safe. So it's fun to see a legendary team like Firaxis even look at a game like Slay the Spire and be like, okay, their card system works, so we know our card system will work. And now just imagine a Slay the Spire game with dozens and dozens of millions of dollars pumped into the production of it, you know?
Yeah, I will keep comparing it to Gears Tactics just because that's a universal like baseline that we all understand because we all played that.
Of course, yeah.
But it's interesting how it is more empowering of a card tactics game than you'd expect because you're not missing shots. Criticals work by you having a chance of drawing the card in critical form.
Yeah.
So then you get to play it as a guaranteed critical. And I think that's a great way of handling that. And there's like quick attacks where if you kill somebody with it, it refunds the move and it's like you didn't do anything. Like you can still do
super
as
smart
many plays as you did before. And that's just like a super beginner to the genre friendly move to kind of make you feel like you're strong in this like slower, different way of interacting.
Well, then also I thought it was wild early on. It's like, okay, there's going to be enemies out here and some of them, the minions, they just don't have health. You hit them once and they're dead. And that's another example of just like making you feel strangely powerful in a tactics game. It's like, that couldn't possibly work. Having enemies with basically, they're terrestrialized figures out there, Sarah. You hit them once and they shatter in a million pieces. But that is the weird idea. But yeah, no, that totally works. Just to have a bunch of pawns out there and you can take them out with one hit. But then there's going to be other enemies which will have higher health. But it also has my favorite thing in any RPG of just characters with like 5 HP. I love just low RPG numbers. You know what I mean, Sarah? I know you're used to Final Fantasy 14, which is probably up to like 14 million with every hit, but I'm a sucker for like the paper.
Oh, you like the number being small so you can easily perceive damage on it, I guess?
It's easier to understand, I think, with like a Paper Mario when you have 20 HP versus an enemy with 15. You know what I mean? Does anybody else enjoy that?
The bar goes down all the same. I'm more of a visual HP person.
No, but yeah, you gotta plan. You gotta be like, I know this hit's gonna kill. I mean, to compare it to another of the best games of all time, it has a lot of Into the Breach vibes.
Interesting,
because you never miss. You know who the enemies are attacking at all times, and they also never miss. And my favorite part of the combat system is like a lot of the moves are about throwing people around and throwing characters like into each other or into environmental things or whatever. And so there's some of those quick attacks that like don't cost anything if you kill, literally do not do damage, but they do move the character. And so then you can like throw 2 characters into each other and that does enough damage to kill one, or you can throw one into like a fuse box and then they're stunned for a turn. And so I really like being able to think about like, you know, that's the thing that kind of lets it earn being like a tens of millions of dollars game, is that like you see the physics work and it's like this wouldn't work if you were just looking at a deck of cards against you. You know, like it really matters where people are standing. Mm-hmm. Though also you can only move one hero per turn, which is a very strange system. But sometimes heroes move on their own when you do an attack and the attacks don't have range, so you can move anywhere, but you can only choose where one moves. It's like there are a lot of systems that seem very weird that I think if I put another dozen hours, I will like understand why they did it. But for right now, it's still a little confusing.
Yeah, and that's the big thing too, is this game is big. They're saying that it's around 60 hours to finish off like the main campaign here. Leo, do you think you're going to stick with it? I'll give it a few more hours at least. Yeah. Yeah. The combat's interesting. And just, Jacob is just preparing us for a few more hours of talking, but the combat continues to evolve based on where you're at.
I mean, they truly never shut the hell up. Like it's so annoying, and I do not. I actually like the custom character more than I thought.
Right.
Like because there's this thing where you have like a new character who's like canonical. It's not just like you don't get to name them Jacob. They're like, here's, the hunter.
Yeah.
And they're kind of cool. They have really cool moves in combat and whatever, but it's like there's just so much dialogue and lore and things that I just don't care about.
Well, it's a tough thing with it reminds me a little bit of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which is interesting. I'm always interested in marketing, in messaging, and with this game, they're big. I'm like, it's Marvel Games' first RPG. It's like, yeah, I get what you want to highlight, the fact that it's a tactics RPG, but at the same time, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 existed. That's like an action RPG. It's like it never existed in the eyes of many people. But in a couple ways, it reminds me of that. One of them is just packing this game full of characters. I think it's really hard to tell a compelling story where we're just, oh, what's that? You like Marvel? How about all the Marvel you can handle? When it's just a giant smorgasbord of characters, at some point, it's tough to tell a cohesive story. And I'm curious to see how this game attempts to pull it off. But then also, every time they introduce a character, it does the thing that they also did in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 of it's Spider-Man, and then it does kind of the Borderlands style pause of having the text pop up with their name and then a little quip. Believe it or not, Sarah. Believe it or not, this game's got some quips, Sarah.
I did. I thought the Robo-Man thing was kind of funny when there's a thing when you're introduced to Iron Man, but a character has just called him Robo-Man, and then his title card says Robo-Man. Yeah. And it's like, that's funny.
All right, they got us.
I like that too. We should also disclose that, of course, friend of the show, Ben Reeves, worked on this game, so all our compliments for the writing. That's
right. That's right. Yeah, dear friend of the show.
Really kicking a friend here.
Well, to be fair, I think he might have come in a little bit later, so I think we in the
so
interview,
he wrote the back half of the game, which I'm sure is very good.
No, even in the interview with Jake Solomon, I asked hey, what has Ben Reeves been working on? And he's like, I can't talk about what he's been working on so far. So something in the future. So who knows? So we love you, Ben Reeves. Yeah. It comes out December 2nd. I'm very curious to see, especially what Tactics super fans really think about this. I am very eager to see, what the Firaxis subreddit looks like, how embraced this game's going to be, if it's going to be meaty enough for them. You mentioned the card possibility. There's a lot happening here, but it's just wild to see this much of a full-on RPG of walking around the Abbey, talking to characters from the Civilization studio. It's
you can
crazy.
just walk around.
Yeah.
Which I really didn't expect, but also nothing in the walking around has been something where I'm like, well, you couldn't do this with a helicarrier and XCOM. I'm like, just let me click on the forge room. I don't need to walk there.
Yeah. I'm curious to see the, building up friendships with these characters. Because Sarah, you can't romance them, you can't wine and dine them, but you can get gifts for them, and you can build up your friendship and play video games with Iron Man and stuff. But no smooching allowed. Just so you're aware.
And then I assume does that help you in battle then?
I assume there's some benefits there.
It'll be like a Pokemon, Iron Man refused to die out of its love for you. Iron Man looks at you with tears in his eyes as he holds on.
That's it. Yeah, you get it.
I did a thing with Iron Man, and it told me that I got a bonus of larger hands on the next battle, which I eventually realized meant how many cards you draw.
Right.
Just looking at him.
No, that should have been obvious. I also was thinking that his hands got larger.
Is he gonna shoot bigger lasers out of his big hands?
All right, Marvel's Midnight Suns, everybody. But let's keep talking tactics. You can't stop us from talking tactics. Tactics Ogre Reborn. Sarah, genuinely, yes. I am perplexed when you said you're playing this, because people are naturally messaging us hey, you fools need to get smart and talk about Tactics Ogre Reborn. I just didn't think that you were one of those people that would be into Tactics Ogre.
Well, it's because I really liked Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. That is my pinnacle of a tactics game.
Interesting.
Is that game, and this is just the grandfather of that game.
So you'd never played the original Tactics Ogre?
No, because I couldn't read in 1995, Ben.
Oh, I see.
Are you kidding me? Well, no, I've never played the original game.
Well, the thing is crazy. So this was also the PSP remake, which was Tactics Ogre, let us cling together, then this Tactics Ogre Reborn is a remake of the 2010 PSP remake.
I don't get in the weeds with it. I see Final Fantasy Tactics Advance in it, and I buy.
Right.
And I play.
Okay, and as a big Tactics Advance person, which, by the way, just to be clear, have you ever played Tactics, period?
No.
Okay. I'm curious if they're building up to a re-release of Final Fantasy Tactics. Certainly there's a demand for it. Okay, but as a Tactics Advance fan, going into Tactics Ogre Reborn, how's your experience been? What do you think?
Well, I've put 20 hours into
Jesus!
I have almost finished the game. It plays incredibly similarly to Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Obviously without the Final Fantasy elements, the class systems a lot. Like, this is literally a bare bones tactics game. This is the barest of bones. Like, there's no relationship building. There's, there's a story, but it's like a branching story. So you can pick, if you want to be good, evil, or like chaotic. I don't know which one I'm on. And frankly, I don't really care.
Sure.
Because it's literally just battle after battle after battle after battle. You just kind of move through the world in a series of battles. And then between those, you have to like hire people to join your group. And then you have to train them up, and then you can just give them a job card and be like, you were an archer. You're a barbarian now. Welcome to the team. Get to work,
That
so
sounds
it's like
good.
It's literally the barest bones that a tactics game could be, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love my little pixel people. I love my little squares. Some squares are taller than other squares. So I love it.
What are you playing on?
Ooh, I'm playing it on the Steam Deck.
Ooh, that does seem ideal.
And I have been super enjoying it. However, I noticed that my hands are hurt after holding the Steam Deck for like extended periods of time.
Because it's so heavy?
Yeah, well, it's like it's kind of clunky.
Right.
If you have smaller hands, and it is heavy.
When you're so into the tactics that you're gripping it with maximum force.
But then like I'll pick up the Switch, and I feel like I'm about to crack it in half.
Yeah, isn't it weird to go back and forth?
It's so small and so light.
I know, it's so rinky-dinky. So this thing's on the Switch, it's on Steam, it's on PlayStation. Tactics Ogre Reborn, it's 50 buckaroos for this one.
Is Tactics Ogre a terrible name, or am I just uncultured?
It is.
Like, to me, one of the worst video game names I can think of.
It's confusing, and as somebody...
There's not even ogres in the game.
What?
I think they just liked the word. Yeah, I think they were like, I like this word.
Well, what it is, it gets more confusing than that, because the original game is called Ogre Battle. There was an original game for the Super Nintendo called Ogre Battle.
Were there ogres in that?
I would have to imagine there's ogre battles in that. Battling ogres left and right. I'm sorry, I'm not smart enough to have played that. But so then this is kind of the spiritual successor / sequel with Tactics Ogre. And then the name continues to be daisy-chained and confused. And it's like, now Matsuno, who's this game's director, then went on to Final Fantasy Tactics. So they take like the ogre in the name, slide it over for Tactics Ogre, then slide it one notch over, and then take the tactics for Final Fantasy Tactics, and then that carries forward. And then it gets confusing too when you talk about like Evilise.
Well, then it gets confusing.
Then it gets confusing of like the world of Evilise, because that's in Final Fantasy Tactics and Advance 2 and all that stuff. But then also it carries forward into Final Fantasy 12. And then I was really going down the Yasumi Matsuno rabbit hole of trying to figure out his path. Because like my main vantage point on him was he was the original director for 12. And then he swapped out close to the game's release for somebody else. Or in development, middle of development and all this stuff. But then I found out that he came back and wrote the scenario for Final Fantasy 14, Sarah, where it's like Return to Evilise.
Oh, yeah.
Did you play that?
Yeah, there's like there's 3 dungeons, 3 giant raid dungeons.
Okay.
Based on Evilise, and like Fran's there, and all the characters are there.
Oh, really?
And you literally go to Evilise, you kind of like teleport there. It's really cool. That's the one that has the math boss in it, where he reduces your health to a certain number, and you have to like turn it into a prime number.
What?
And if you don't, you get like major debuffs, and like I can't do math, so I just cry during that part.
That sounds brutal.
You have to do it like 3 times, and I'm really bad at math.
I love that. And then of course Vagrant Story is also an Evilise Shake-Up Gallery, just to make it really for the full chain of this saga. That's what you have to factor in. It's a fun family tree to try and unpack.
How about Parasite Eve? Is that an evil?
No, yes.
Parasite Eve, Elise?
That's right. It is. People don't like to talk about it, but it is. We know the truth. All right, Tactics Ogre Reborn. Sarah, I love this. I love that you love this.
I couldn't explain to you why I'm so obsessed with My Little Tiny Square games, where it's incredibly slow and everybody takes their turn, and it's like there is no dialogue, and there is no like, because Fire Emblem has those like flashy attack moves,
right?
You know, where they like zoom in and you get to watch them stab the other person. This doesn't have that. I don't know why, but I'm obsessed with it.
I love it. A game that Jacob Keller claims that he's also obsessed with and won't stop talking about and bugging everybody about. What the Bat? I'm interested. This is a VR game, but stick with us, everybody. This is a VR game that's from the same developers as What the Golf, which was one of our favorite games back in 2020. Is that when that game came out? I love that silly game. And then this is their follow-up, What the Bat. Leo, have you checked this thing out?
Haven't heard of it until right now.
Oh,
but I see there's no bat in it.
Jacob Keller, how about you tell us how much of a bat there is?
In fact, it's a game that dares to ask, what if both your arms were baseball bats, and then you just had to do things.
Excellent.
And so it's kind of like What the Golf in that it is like, how many ways can we make baseball silly? But it's also kind of like Octodad in that it's asking you to do like very normal life things, but your arms are bats. And so it's like load your washing machine and you're like smacking like pairs of underwear into the washing machine with your arms, or like it's like you have to like play a video game that has like one big joystick, but you don't have hands, and so you're trying to control the joystick with like your bat arms. And it's just, I mean, it's like, it is kind of one of those VR things where it's just like, here's just a funny thing, you know. It's not really a game, although there is like a main character in a way that there isn't in What the Golf. It's like at the end of every set of levels, you like take a selfie with a camera duct taped to the end of your bat, and you can see your character like growing up.
What?
It's very funny. But mainly it's like each situation takes like 30 seconds to do, and it's just like, you know, hit a baseball onto this, like, you know, tape player so it will start playing a tape, you know, something like that. And then you do that, and then it's just on to the next level. And so it's kind of a collection of mini games, but they're all very funny.
Honestly, I'm more tempted to put on a VR headset. I don't own one, but to steal Sarah's, by this game than I think any VR game over the last 3 years.
Also,
I'm struggling.
There is no movement, so I think there's a very low chance of like motion sickness because you're just standing in one place doing stuff. And it's like, you know, I'm playing on my Quest 2. The graphics are perfect because it's very simple. You know, there's like, it doesn't have high tech requirements. It's great. If you had someone like over to your house to play VR for like 5 minutes, you'd be like, try this one.
Yep. Seeing in the trailer, they have a bit which is, it's what I've always dreamed of. It's a bit where you're in like an art museum just beating the crap out of like statues. And I remember like when VR first came out, I remember I was like in France with Ben Reeves, as previously mentioned, and we're going through some fancy antiquities museum or something. And that was my big pitch for like, you know what they should do? They should make a VR game where you're just in one of these fancy museums.
Were you in the Louvre?
No. It was like south of France.
And you were thinking, what if I can smash the art?
It's not a healthy feeling, but Sarah, you know what I'm talking about. Wouldn't it be fun to have a VR game where it's you just...
No, I've literally never
gone
to a museum and said, what if I could break this 1,000-year-old statue?
All right, you're trying to be high and mighty, but if there was a VR game, and I think people have... There is. Yes, people have releases. What's the name of it, Leo?
Smashing Time.
Okay.
You can destroy a museum, you can destroy the Oval Office.
Yeah. You're telling me you wouldn't want to play that, Sarah? Just you have a sledgehammer in the Oval Office?
But I would never I've never been in a museum and said, what if I just smashed this?
Well, I'm not actually planning on doing it. I just want to have that fantasy, and that's what video games are good for. And this feels like it's inching in that arena.
You just want to break stuff.
Yeah, it's just one of those days, you know?
They have those rage rooms now that you can go to and break stuff.
Excuse me?
Yeah, you can go and they like set up a bunch of old furniture for you and they give you like a sledgehammer.
Are you messing with me? This is the thing you can do?
No, they're real.
I felt like that was the thing that I heard about in like 2015. No, well, there's one. Yeah, there's
it's
one
like
like
axe,
a couple
it's like
minutes
axe
for
throwing,
me.
you know, where it's like, what if on a first date you gave your date a weapon?
Wait, what do you mean it's like that?
Rage Room. This is one in Durham, North Carolina.
Weird. I don't trust
Are
anybody
you
that
stressed?
goes
Is your boss or coworker working your last nerve? This is how it starts.
Weird. Do you have that impulse? Do you ever just want to destroy stuff, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Not art though. Just like random stuff.
Well, that's why you don't want to destroy for real. What if it's really bad old art though?
I'd still feel a little bit bad. Even if I got it from the Goodwill, I'd still feel a little bad.
Like a grandfather clock.
Yeah. What if it's just like a good old...
No, absolutely not.
What if it's just like a Confederate statue?
Okay. Well... Yeah.
She's hedging, ladies and gentlemen. Let it be known. All right, Leo, you said you're desperate to talk about one game and one game only, baby, because we're coming down to Game of the Year time, so priorities, every second counts. Fallout 76.
What? What year is it?
It's 2076, I think. Leo, what's going on? You're back to Fallout 76? I know you had a slow burn on this one and then learned to love it, and then you just rekindled your love?
Yeah, I was off it for like a year. And I was still in the Fallout 76 settlement subreddit, just admiring people's creations and going, man, I should get back to that someday when I have time, when I don't have to play other games, when I don't have to keep up with the new releases.
Right.
But then I thought, why don't I chase my bliss and download this?
Absolutely.
And I did it at the perfect time because the Halloween event is the best time of year in that game because you're incentivized to trick or treat. Here's my day in Fallout 76.
Yeah.
I boot it up. I've got my witch hat on because you have to have a costume to trick or treat. And I start going to player camps. And the settlements in that game are unreal. There's one that was just posted on the subreddit that was Howl's Moving Castle. Like with the legs, the raised big thing. It looks incredible. People are doing magical stuff with those not very good tools.
Wow.
And you go and you get some candy from the bowl. You visit their shop, see what plans they have. There's thousands of recipes for stuff that would like make my camp look cooler. And I'm weighing like, this is a pretty good value. This is way under what I'd normally pay for this. So I got to pick it up. I'm bouncing between these camps. I see pretty ones and I take out my camera that I crafted in game, that I found a plan for a zoom lens that I modded onto it at the mod table using in-game resources. And I take a picture. And now my loading screens are all pictures of beautiful settlements that I've encountered in my travels. And you pay caps to fast travel, so you're incentivized to fast travel as little as possible. So I go, I want to do like these 3 quests in this area. I'll fast travel to this one place and have this little journey through this little corner of the map. And that's my day in Fallout 76. And I do my little dailies, and it's extremely cute and extremely fun.
I genuinely forgot. So this is just, it's shared world, not quite MMO. I mean, how many people are building houses in your server?
Yeah, or how many like instances?
Yeah.
Do you have to get into the server with the cool Howl's Moving Castle?
Yeah, and it's not cross-platform either, so I'll never see that one because it was built on Xbox.
No.
Sure.
But it's 24-player servers, and usually most of those players have camps. And honestly, the ratio of like camps people have put a ridiculous amount of time into and have a theme and are beautifully structured versus camps that are bare minimum, here's just all the stuff to craft with, I don't care about my camp.
Yeah.
Ridiculously high towards beautiful camps that people care about, like way more than I expected. And my camp is beautiful and I care about it. I built it with my partner. It's a convenience store that's like right near where you start, and I sell a bunch of basics for really low prices. It's called Goldman's Basics for Cheap. My character's name is Rolled Goldman. Come give me a visit. And I care so much about how it looks, like laying out the shelves, making the magazine rack and filling it with magazines that you actually have to loot throughout the game. It is such a pleasant multiplayer experience.
Was this their intention with the multiplayer, or has it evolved to this point where people are just kind of RPing with their
can you
bases?
still like nuke a section of the map? Because I remember when it started, they were just like, hey, you can nuke a part of the map, and that doesn't seem like it would vibe.
You can finally nuke Howl's moving castle, everybody's fantasy.
I get notified that that's happening once in a while, but it's relegated to like
a
the
text
outskirts.
message, like, by the way.
Nuclear launch detected.
Anymore.
You get a notification, make sure not to be in the area that is going to be nuked in 4 minutes.
That's helpful.
My God,
but the IGN put out a video recently that was like, here's the weirdos still playing Fallout 76, and I really enjoyed that video.
Good for them. It honestly seems like the game is better now. Like, I would play this over whatever it was supposed to be originally.
It's sitting quietly in the background as a really fun, good game.
I love that.
And I don't think it gets enough credit because of how bad it launched.
Yeah. Fallout 76, everybody. We'll talk about it endlessly in the future, I'm sure, as well. And then also
visit my camp and buy my stuff.
Yeah, please. Jacob Keller, you also said real quick that like Signalis we didn't give fair enough of a shake to on the podcast.
What?
Yeah.
Did we do it dirty?
That's because Ben was like, oh, I played it with my friend, and we didn't think that it was...
Ben was like, we were
drunk and we didn't get it.
Well, also, I mean, Kyle beat it, and Kyle said it was like good. But like, I think that this game deserves a lot of credit. Basically, I mean, in terms of the like, people have made this comparison, but it's like, you ever thought like, hey, why don't they make another Silent Hill 2? In that, like, why don't they make another horror game where like everything is about, you know, it's like the thing about that separates Silent Hill 2 from like every other horror game is like every piece of it is about the narrative. You know, it's like every puzzle solution links into what he's doing, and every boss is also like very thematically poignant and like all that. And it's like, that's Signalis. Signalis is one of those games where it's like everything in the game links back to everything else in the game because it is such a like narrative. It just like knows so much exactly what it's doing that like everything relates back to that.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, it's incredibly ambitious in a way that you wouldn't necessarily expect if you just saw like, oh, it's a cool PS1 looking game.
Yeah, people say, oh, it's PS1 survival horror throwback experience. I feel like we've seen plenty of those. Was it like, oh, I forget, the Haunted House or like 1998.
That haunted demo disc thing that came out.
Yep. But this is a notch above just in presentation and vibes and everything.
I mean, it's like, it's worth playing. I don't know how much you played in your drunk boys time, but like,
well, we're pretty busy, chugging beer bongs and high-fiving and throwing popcorn into each other's mouths. So I don't know.
Just the title drop of this, it does so much interesting kind of like very quick cut static images, weird text, like paintings, whatever. And it's just like, it's so stylish, you know, in a way that's like, it's not just that it's blocky and looks like a PS1 game. It's like, it's really, it's just like, there's so many different art styles, and sometimes it's in first person and sometimes it's kind of a visual novel-y looking thing and whatever. Like it's just very fully formed. You know, it's one of those games that you play, you're like, this is exactly what they wanted to make, and they did it all the way. Yeah,
Signalis, and it's on Game Pass if you wanted to check it out. Are you a Pentiment man, Jacob Geller? Are you gonna jump into that thing?
I mean, I think it sounds really cool. I've been traveling for the past 10 days or so. So I listened to y'all talk about it and was like, that sounds great, but I haven't touched it.
Okay, right on. Sarah, are you a website person by chance?
Oh, well, not since Neopets, probably.
Since it like shut down, you're just not into really websites?
Yeah, actually it's not shut down. Don't spread rumors.
Okay, what if I told you there's one website though where all your dreams could come true?
I don't know.
I think you should.
Are there pets on it?
There could be. Patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, everybody. Help support independent games media, even at that $2 tier. We would greatly appreciate it. Find the tier that is right for you. Leo, I hope you're ready to get a little hungry, buddy.
Sure. There are pets in the Discord, by the way. That's kind of counts, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess if you support us on Patreon, then you get access to the Discord, and there's a whole pet channel, and everyone's sharing cute pictures of their pets at all times, even if they're not voting for our dog show in New Show Plus, which I thought was going to win, but people said no to dogs because they wanted Sarah and Leo to stream more Spore. They wanted more freaky animals than real-life animals, so Bold choice, everybody. Anyways, Leo, speaking of dogs, I hope you're ready to feel hungry.
I still am not saying the thing you hope I'm going to say. I don't know.
Hey, thanks to our new supporters, people like Omaha Steaks, everybody. It's a mail order steak service. They reached out and I was like, that sounds lovely. Because, you know.
Are they sponsoring our Christmas feast?
No, they aren't. But by God, if we hit that, maybe they'd be open to it. But it is just the best experience. Like, you know, I don't go to the grocery store and pick up steaks that often. But it turns out when a bunch of delicious steaks are dropped off at your house, it's freaking delicious. So we had the first round. They were fantastic. And then my wonderful wife, she's like, by the way, the next batch of steaks from Omaha Steaks, it's steak, but it has just like bacon wrapped around it. And there's apple pie for dessert. And then also there's chicken and burgers. And then we enjoyed it all. And then my wife was like, this is great. I need to actually go to their site and see how much this costs because I'm ready to be horrified. And unprompted, look, she's not being paid to say this. She said it was actually a lot cheaper than I expected on their site. So Omaha Steaks, 2 thumbs up over here. I thought it was great. The steak experts at Omaha Steaks have put together special curated gift packages to help take the guesswork out of gifting and make you a holiday hero. Go to omahasteaks.com and use the promo code MinnMax at checkout to get $30 off of your order. Again, you can go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code MinnMax at checkout. And there's a link below in the description for everybody. You can send an assortment of mouth-watering favorites guaranteed to impress, like the legendary Butcher's Cut Filet Mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra-juicy burgers, and even easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. Every steak and every entree is backed by our unconditional 100% money-back guarantee. So there's a link below if you're interested in this whole thing, but visit omahasteaks.com and use promo code MinnMax at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. Check it out, everybody. A minimum order may be required. Hey, y'all heard of HelloFresh?
I have.
Yeah, of course. We've all used HelloFresh. It's great just to have wonderful food delivered to your house. It's America's #1 meal kit. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy and fun and affordable. They want you to know that the holidays, hey, they're just around the corner. And HelloFresh makes this busy time of year easier than ever with your chef-crafted recipes and pre-portioned ingredients delivered right to your door so you can spend less time meal planning and prepping. And you can save money on dinner with HelloFresh and put it towards your holiday shopping as well. HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery store shopping and it's 25% less expensive than takeout, is their math, which sounds about right. Really, nothing better than having a HelloFresh meal in the fridge, just sitting back and be like, oh, there's no stress about dinner tonight. I just know exactly what we need to prepare. Like we had some beef flautas not too long ago, kind of beef, little taco roll type things. Did I do it well, Sarah? Did I say the word well?
I just can't believe that you're over here sleeping on silver sheets,
right,
eating steak, eating HelloFresh.
Right.
I'm starting to think you did this for you.
No,
and I'm starting to think this is just you.
Yeah, can't wait for the mattress sponsorship.
Yeah, can't wait to hear about your mattress soon.
We'll see how it goes. Anyways, the beef flautas were good, everybody. It's easy to follow instructions for HelloFresh. It's the way to go. And you can go to HelloFresh.com/MinnMax70 and use code MinnMax70 for 70% off free shipping. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/MinnMax70. There's a promo code listed below, and you can use that promo code MinnMax70 for 70% off plus free shipping. It is America's #1 meal kit. HelloFresh, everybody.
Next up, Cash for Gold. They sent me a bunch of gold I'm really enjoying.
And you know what? Gold is good. It's just fun to have in your house. For the record.
Turns out, guys.
They think gold is bad. They think you should sell it.
Oh no.
I don't give you gold for cash.
I really did.
Well, they give us both.
I did ask them when I had my meetings with like the ad people for the podcast, like, could we ship this out to everybody? And like, no, not so much. And so it's like, if you can guarantee that someone's going to be on this episode, like months in the future, then maybe. It's like, well, that's kind of a tricky thing to do with this. But look, Sarah, we can get you some Omaha steaks if you want. I mean, there might be an opportunity.
I'm coming over. I'm picking up my steaks.
All right.
Whenever my kitchen's done.
Yeah,
it's not, so I can't cook them, but.
So we can trade VR for steaks and HelloFresh. Okay, good.
Absolutely.
I know this steak isn't real.
That's right. Hey, check it out, everybody. Cuphead Collector's Editions available at I Am 8-Bit's online store. They have been big supporters of ours for a very long time, so you can check out I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store. They have so much cool stuff there, including the Cuphead Collector's Edition, which comes with an actual Cuphead marionette. It is fully puppetable. I repeat, fully puppetable. Check it out with the I Am 8-Bit exclusive Collector's Edition. It's fantastic. And you can go to their online store and use the promo code Cornbread Casserole, all one word. Cornbread Casserole for 10% off everything under $100. I'm 8-Bit rules because they ship out prizes each and every week to the MinnMax community. If you're a Patreon supporter at any tier, any tier whatsoever, even that $2 tier, you can submit a question every week for the MinnMax Show podcast. We choose our favorite, and then I'm 8-Bit just ships out a prize. And this week, they're shipping out such a doozy. This week, I'm 8-Bit is shipping out to the best question of the week, Mega Man X, the Legacy cartridge that they have in their online store, which we had as an auction item during Extra Life. It went for well over $100. And I'm 8-Bit's just shipping this out because they're so cool. So please follow the link below, help support I'm 8-Bit because they're great supporters of ours and they have a very cool store. So it is up to us to remember who has the absolute best question from the community, and they will win this glorious Mega Man X cartridge. All right, here we go, everybody. Ian Zanger writes in and says, hey, have you ever finished a game by watching the rest on YouTube? Is this a sign that a title's gameplay doesn't hold up to its story? Is this a bad idea because it spoils the rest and keeps you from possibly returning to the game later? I've had this urge with Deathloop for a while as I approach the end of the story and the levels are feeling repetitive.
I did that with Deathloop too.
Did you really?
Yeah, I got through Deathloop and I was like, the end better be worth the means. And then I just like looked up the endings and I was like, you know what? That's fine by me.
Yeah.
And I was satisfied with watching it.
Yeah, you don't seem like a person who's very wary of spoilers in your game in life.
No. I find that I can still be surprised and excited.
Yeah. That's good. I did this for like Final Fantasy 15 Monsters of the Deep, the fishing game, because the final boss turns out you had to grind a lot for, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to look at the final cutscene on YouTube during that stream, and hopefully people will be okay with that. But anybody else watch a lot of stuff on YouTube instead of finishing a game?
I remember finishing Resident Evil 7 via watching. It's like once you got to that second location, I maybe played for a few minutes, but was like, this is not... I don't care about this anymore. Yeah.
A thing about me is I hate watching people play video games. Like I just think it's so, when it's actual gameplay and not cutscenes, I just find it very boring if I'm not talking. But so it's like I've tried and I just like start looking at my phone and I'm like, what's the point of this? But I will always look up if there are multiple endings. Like, I mean, Deathloop has multiple endings. I looked up the other one. Signalis has like 4 endings. I looked up the 3 that I didn't get. So that's when I'll use it. But it's like, it's hard to watch people just play after you've been playing because you're like, I would do this better or whatever.
Yeah, I know I've talked about it before, but if you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, there's probably a chance that you have not experienced Peace Walker. And like, I'm telling you, sit back on a Friday night, nothing bad can happen, and just boot up Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, just like the movie cut on YouTube. It is such a hoot. You'll have a great time. How long
is it? Isn't it like...
I think it's like 4 hours, maybe.
Yeah, it's like several hours of just cutscenes.
Yeah, they have like the movie cut, so they have like some of the gameplay clips that are necessary and stuff, but it's just 4 hours of David Hayter talking to you. It's a joy. Zach Killian writes in and says, hello, MinnMax. I had this random thought, but as a fan of stealth games, would video game stealth mechanics work in the real world? Would throwing a coin distract somebody? Would crouching be quieter? Great question, Zach.
No, because I think like if you hear something get thrown, your automatic reaction is to look in the direction that it came from and not the direction that it ended up in.
Well, how do you know where it came from?
But if a coin lands on the ground, do you know what? I guess it would slide.
Well, who are you, Daredevil? What are you talking about, Sarah? You don't know where it's coming from.
Well, it's like if you see something like whip past your head, like in most games, you don't have to like not let them see that you're throwing it. All you really care about is where it lands.
I think the implication though is they don't see it flying. They just hear the clickety clack of whatever.
Yeah, but like usually you're trying to like get into some high security area.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hate stealth games. I hate being stealthy. It's slow and boring.
Well, maybe you'll learn to love them if you just try like crouching in grass in real life, and then no one will be able to see you.
Yeah, I love moving slowly.
Nothing better in life.
I like the tactic of when a guard finds someone unconscious and is like, sleeping on the job, wake up, buddy, and then just do that. I think that would work in real life.
I think so. Leo, you know stealth well. You can get around in real life?
I think it's pretty 1-to-1.
Yeah.
If in Hitman, if you have somebody slip on a banana peel and they get knocked out and you take all their clothes, it's like an accidental knockout. So if somebody comes and finds them, they'll wake them up, but nothing seems out of the ordinary. They're not like there's somebody prowling around on the premises. And even the person who wakes up is like, yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. And you
but
think
it's probably chill.
That's legit. So if you were actually trying to sneak into a place, you'd just be throwing up banana peels left and right.
Putting on other people's clothes.
Yeah, I guess that's smart.
Do you remember the scene, Ben, I know you do, in Mission Impossible 4, where they have that little thing that makes like a water drop sound on the other side of where they're sneaking into the Kremlin, and the guy like hears a water drop and he like walks away from his desk. I was just like, I wouldn't do that. If I heard like a water drop, I'd be like, okay.
I guess I call somebody. I don't know what to do. Yeah, people don't change the battery in their smoke detector. You think like having a water drop is going to be like, oh, the Kremlin, let's leave it unguarded now for a little bit. I do. This goes back to the VR simulation, I think, of wanting to be in a museum and just destroy everything and unleash a rage like only Kratos could. But do you also just fantasize about like, God, I wish I was just in the Matrix so I could see if I could sneak into this place. I want like full VR simulation just to see what I could get away with. Like, I
feel like you'd be very disappointed in how much you can just walk into a bunch of places if you just act like you need to be there.
It's exactly it.
You think?
Yeah, I'm a law-abiding citizen, just to be clear. But I do think about that stuff all the time. Just like, yeah, if I just acted confident, I think I could walk through almost any door, which I understand is a privilege in a lot of ways. But I think about that all the time. Like, forget the hitman changing clothes. I don't think you need clothes if you just have the right vibe about you. No one's going to question it. That's right.
Fully naked.
Who's going to question a naked man strutting into a building? Zach Gallo writes in and says, I've noticed something interesting about the way people have been talking about Sonic Frontiers. The refrain you'll often hear is, yeah, it's fun. I want to keep playing it, but it's not a good game. To me, that sounds like you just think it's a good game. Why is it that people feel the need to hedge their enjoyment of games like Sonic Frontiers?
Probably all of us making fun of Sonic for the past 20 years.
I think that's what it's a kind of a shame thing. Like, Sarah, where are you at? Are you enjoying? Is Sonic Frontiers a good game?
Yeah, I think it's a good game. I think if you're coming in expecting it to be like a Breath of the Wild, you're going to be severely disappointed. But if you like Sonic, like here's the thing, Sonic, kind of an acquired taste, right? Mm-hmm. Like it is a Sonic game. You're not going to go in and like, I don't know what people's expectations are for the Sonic game, but it is a Sonic game and it is fun and the music is really good, which sometimes it's all you can ask.
So you don't have a love-hate thing? You're not torturing yourself internally of like, yeah, it's fun, but you're just fully on board for it?
No, I beat it and I say that it's good.
Wow.
It's good.
The declaration.
It's good.
Yeah, Zach, you're fine.
It's the best we've had in a long time.
Take it, everybody.
Are you going to be pushing for it for Game of the Year?
No, it's not worth the fight.
Interesting. What?
It's not worth the uphill battle.
I mean, is it your Game of the Year?
No.
Okay. What do you think is your Game of the Year right now?
That's still Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. Interesting. I think it's going to be an interesting discussion.
I was talking to Blake Hester the other day, who told me that he felt like he was going crazy because he played Sonic, and he was like, that game was borderline unplayable, and everyone is saying it's like good for a Sonic game.
A borderline unplayable.
I haven't played it, but
it's playable.
Funny having that conversation.
That was Sarah's main message. Is the game is absolutely playable, so give it up.
Yeah. If you haven't played other Sonic games, you might not understand what that means.
Well, see,
playable.
this is exactly what the question is saying.
It's complicated. Victor Pham writes
I don't know why it's so hard. Like, if you like an IP, you guys all like Marvel no matter what they do.
I
like Sonic no matter what Sonic does.
This is the wrong crowd
really
to
the
say
message
that
of our Midnight Suns conversation.
Yeah, I don't know. Victor Pham writes in and says, God of War, Bayonetta, and Devil May Cry all had a resurgence recently, but Ninja Gaiden has been left by the wayside. What would a new Ninja Gaiden need to do to stand out in the current action game landscape? It does feel ready to pop. It feels like if Ninja Gaiden came back in a post Dark Souls world in a big way, I feel like people would be ready to embrace it again. Right, Jacob Geller?
Here's the thing. Devil May Cry and Bayonetta are like not that popular. Like Devil May Cry is only kind of has like a legacy behind it. Not that many people buy Bayonetta. Like stylish action games, even though they are my favorite genre, are not that popular of a genre. And also I think ninjas aren't really in anymore. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Tell Ghost of Tsushima.
I really don't think the Ninja Gaiden holds much like weight. I think there would be like, there'd be like 36 people like me and Surreal who would be like really excited. And then most people wouldn't care. Yeah,
I'm trying to look up just sales for stylish action games.
Because it's like, it's not like Dark Souls, other than and God of War changed to be less like those games. Like new God of War is less like Devil May Cry than old God of War.
Yeah. Not really playing NES and Super Nintendo games in a big way and all this stuff. I feel like it was Ninja Gaiden Black was the first game on that original Xbox where it was like the big deal was you will not believe how hard this game is. I understand all those old games are impossible as well, but that was like, the talk of the school was like, there's this game that came out that is like, you will beat your head against a wall. It's so challenging. And it felt a little bit like those Dark Souls conversations early on. But yeah, that's maybe overly simplistic to say it's 1-to-1. Travis Manick writes in, but before we get to that, actually, Felix Diaz writes in and says, with the possibility of an Armored Core revival coming soon, it makes me wonder why there aren't more studios investing in mech games or mecha games. I hear you, Felix. I had this epiphany reading this question of, I realized that Armored Core is going to be the new Silent Hill in terms of like, I feel like it was bubbling up for the game that people are like, why haven't they making a new Armored Core? It's been rumored for so long. I think it's going to happen. Now that they announced 14 new Silent Hill games, there needs to be something else to take that mantle of like the no-brainer. Why aren't they making this game? And I think it's going to be Armored Core. Is there anything else, Jacob Gallo? It's perfectly queued up for everybody raving about this now.
Oh, that just like a game that hasn't come out long enough that everyone's like, we want this. There are no problems with the series.
Yes, it's Armored Core. It's absolutely, it was already close to that slot, and now it's Silent Hill out of the way. It's number one.
Yeah, and it's got like the From Software kind of hippie thing of like, or hipster, where you're like, yeah, I liked it. I like their old stuff.
Yep, exactly. And I like the old Armored Cores. Tyler Sticker writes in and says, hey, I've really been enjoying watching Sarah and Leo play Spore together for a new show plus. What do you think are the essential ingredients for an entertaining stream? Also, do you prefer being on the sticks or commentating? As the stream queen, Sarah, give us everything you know. What are the ingredients, do you think, genuinely, for a good stream?
I think you got to have a really good mix, right? You have to be able to both commentate on the gameplay while you're playing, chat with the chat, so you have to be able to see what people are saying and respond to them. And if there's somebody else there with you, you have to be able to engage with them in a certain way while also playing the game. And like, while playing it in a a good way.
Yeah.
I feel like the hardest thing is making sure that you're also talking about the game. Because sometimes when you're talking to another person, you can just fall off completely.
That's exactly my
problem. And then it's like, why
yeah.
is the game there in the first place? And people want to hear you talk about the game because that's what you're actively playing. So it's all about balance.
How do you do, because you do so much solo streaming, is it odd to like host a stream with like Leo there where you're playing Spore? Do you feel like you have to recalibrate your brain for it?
It's a little bit, because sometimes I feel like I could just talk forever. And then I have to kind of like switch. It's hard when I'm playing too.
Yeah.
To kind of like play the game and make sure that I'm like conversing with another person at the same time and not just talking about the game. So it is a lot harder. When you're not playing the game, like when you are that other person, it's a lot easier because that's one less thing you have to focus on is just chatting.
Yeah.
So I much prefer to be the person that's not playing the game.
Really?
That's a lot. Yeah.
I do think to say it sucks is too much, but it is weird to be the person not playing, especially over a remote stream. I feel like I don't mind if we're in the room together and I'm not the one playing and I still feel so engaged, but I think it's like, it is a tough thing to come in with energy for in a stream when you're just watching somebody play remotely this game that you're not playing. So I think that is a subtle, tall order, I think. I don't
know. Maybe that's because I watch my friends play games on Discord too.
Oh, okay.
So maybe I'm just more used to someone else playing and me just watching.
Yeah. It could be. But Leo, what do you think? What are the key ingredients there?
I prefer being the side speaker as well, the sniper, all the way back to the Game Informer days. It's just like so much easier to only chime in when you have something worthwhile to say versus like you're one of the main people on screen and you're responsible for keeping the flow going.
Yeah.
But another thing I think about at that time, early Game Informer time, is like certain personalities there would have trouble balancing the gameplay and the conversation.
Absolutely.
And it would be mid-conversation suddenly going like, oh, frick, I'm getting hit by this guy, and then losing the train of thought. And I feel like it's important to have the conversation flow in a way that makes sense, even when you are dipping to the game and out of it. It's like in my mind, maybe I'm off about this, I feel like it's worth being realistic that most people are just listening to it and not staring at it. And I think for that reason, it makes sense to focus on the flow of conversation.
Maybe. Yeah, I think Tim Turry was probably the best at Game Informer back in the old days of managing that and always being engaged and focused enough on the game while also being silly on the side. But I think I'm really bad at it. Like, genuinely, I feel like as a streamer, I'm bad at all games, but I give myself like a 6 out of 10. I really feel like I'm not great at that whole arena. So I'm very thankful for people like you who can really pull it off well. And like the reading the chat thing, it's really interesting. Like I think I've gotten better at that. But it's interesting even doing like the deepest dive with Kyle Bossman, who does a ton of solo streaming, and we are streaming those conversations on Twitch. And I can just see him like keeping up with chat. At least it feels like that, like throughout the entire discussion. It's like mid-conversation, but you just get so good at just glancing and scanning that as it's scrolling. It's unbelievable. Muffin Crumbs writes in and says, hey, Ben and Company, I got bored during a lunch break and decided to see what percentage of Question of the Week winners from the MinnMax show in the past year were actually about video games. I'm not hating anything y'all do. I really enjoy the non-gaming questions, like what's up with the word for the food pickles? Even reading that again, I can't handle it. Just as much as your conversations about whether you'd rather have video games or space. God, I forgot about all these. That's such a good one again. So I'm sharing a link for y'all for this breakdown from Muffin Crumbs. But I guess before you click on that, what do you think? Within the last year, what percentage, Sarah, do you think of Question of the Week winners were about video games versus not?
What percentage? I want to go with like about video games. I want to say like 40?
40% about video games? Interesting.
I feel like we pick the non-video game ones a lot.
Yeah, what do you think, Jacob Geller?
I feel like it would be more. I mean, we do a lot about games that are like, it's just kind of ambiently. It's like, what world would you like to live in a video game is like still kind of about games. Right.
Yeah, I was really worried about this. Like, are we just giving it to the silly food questions all the time? But over the last 12 months, we are exactly 50-50 according to Muffin Crumbs data.
Wow. We are fair and balanced.
Absolutely. And it's funny to see.
I think it really depends on who's on the podcast too, on what side it falls on.
Yeah, I think so.
Since you let most people on the podcast pick the questions.
Mm-hmm. So they give a breakdown of the subject, which is very funny. So subject is food. By the way, there's a link to this data if you want to see it in the description below. But the subjects are food, video games, life, miscellaneous, entertainment, food, miscellaneous, life, all the good stuff that's important. There's a good, healthy amount of life as the category in here for Question of the Week. So that's nice to see at least. Muffin Crumb says, I made a graph. It turns out over the last 6 months, there's been less winners focusing on video games, apparently. So we're shifting that direction if you want to track that over the last 6 months. But for the full year, it's exactly 50-50. Note that some of the questions didn't really have a subject, so I put those in miscellaneous. Anyways, enjoy. P.S. Thank you for putting timestamps in the podcast. Our pleasure, Muffin Crumbs. Thanks so much for listening.
This is amazing, all these pie charts.
Yeah.
What category will this question be when it wins?
Yeah, people are going to start gambling on it.
Yeah, it's going to short out.
Like, okay, so it's Sarah's on the podcast. This is a life question. Put your life questions in.
Chandler writes in and asks, if you were big movie stars, would you do your own stunts? I want to say yes.
That just seems like too much work.
So you wouldn't even try it once?
Well, it's like, why would I do that when I could like sit in my trailer and play Pokemon?
Right.
Someone else could do it.
Pride.
That's just like less time that I would have to work.
Yeah.
It's like if the stunt was like skydiving or something, then yes, because that seems like a cool thing to do. But again, kind of a blank check reference. It's like the Brendan Fraser mummy thing. Yes. I did not know and scared me. Where it was like, oh yeah, he did all his own things where he like fell down the stairs and stuff, and then by the third movie he like couldn't move, and so it's like, yeah, you don't. Stunt people train for a really long time to be able to fall down the stairs, and I don't. So yeah, if it's just scary, I think I would want to. But if it's like you're gonna hit yourself really hard, then no, thank you.
Yeah, I was just thinking the other day. I don't tell anybody, but I don't really like actors. Like, I think it's kind of a gross profession, and it kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Podcasters.
Ben doesn't like to be deceived.
Yeah, they're all liars. They're just lying to us over and over again.
Ben, they're just a bunch of liars.
But I was thinking about that. Like, I'd like to hang out on a set at some point, like in an actor-like role. Actors. But yeah, but I just don't want to like. I just don't want to do the acting part. But like sitting around and like talking to the crew and stuff, like I like that. Then I realized like, oh, I guess that was just like my old life as a video producer. So maybe that's why I liked it. But just get that acting out of there.
Being a stunt person is the first job I can remember wanting, like before I knew really what it entailed. Just being a kid and like throwing my body around for a laugh brought me a lot of joy, and I felt like I was good at it, and I feel like probably all kids are because their bodies are little bounce balls.
Did you then
play? Yeah, if my life went that direction, I would love to do stunts.
Did you ever play Stuntman in PS2?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool game. Man. Cool game.
It wasn't into the driving, though.
Right, I get it.
Part of the profession.
Halea Kashishki writes in and says, hey, by the way, in a previous episode, the question was asked, what do you call a group of gamers? The answer is a LAN. Yeah, that is good. That is a good name. Let's see. Tony the Swordsman says, yo, did anyone actually write in the notes section for the in-game manuals? Sarah?
Yes,
you're all
I
in
did,
on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a fair bit as well.
Specifically, I wrote in the Animal Crossing one, the original Animal Crossing, because there was all these passwords to get furniture. You would just send Tom Nook a letter with the passwords in it, and he would send you an article of furniture. And that's how I paid off my loans. So I have like the passwords for the most expensive pieces of furniture that I could resell to Tom Nook.
I love that.
Cool. And that's how I beat the game.
Nice. Yeah, I still have, like last time I went home, I found my Game Gear copy of Echo, Tides of Time. Is that the name? But then there's like a note section in the back, and it's full of password, but then it's also just filled with a bunch of drawings of Echo. I was really into Echo as a kid. It's quite a cool character.
You drew?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Do you
stuff.
Still have them?
I think so. I still have some
you gotta
weird
share
Echo
that.
drawings. You're right.
As a kid, I loved reading game manuals so much that when I would get to the back and it'd be notes, I'd be like, "Ugh, I thought there was more to read." Like, I wanted like more explanations.
Well, it's like when you get to the back of the book and it's like the author's like 5 chapters of just saying thank you to everyone, and you're like, "Hello, I thought there was more book here."
Hello.
Now I like that, though. It's like when I'm reading a book and I see that the last like 40 pages are bibliography, I'm like, yes.
It feels like that when you have like you're watching a really long movie and you see the timeline. It's like, oh my God. Then you realize, oh no, it's just 20 minutes of credits. Okay, turns out this movie's not as long as that. Thank you, Disney Plus. Yarf writes in and says, what do y'all do after Thanksgiving dinner? Do you relax, get ready for a long drive back home, get ready for Black Friday or some other tradition?
Sometimes I yarf.
Next question.
Isn't it? Yeah, mostly it's relaxing.
Just relaxing. Do you like Thanksgiving?
I watch movies with my cousins.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Ooh, I used to go out for Black Friday and just kind of watch everybody else. I was more of a Black Friday observer.
So you just walk by the lines and just eye people up?
Yeah.
See people getting trampled in a Walmart.
That was when Black Friday moved to like 8 p.m. on Thanksgiving.
Right.
I was in like northern Wisconsin, so it was always kind of more interesting, and I would go with my aunt and my mom, and we would get Starbucks and then like walk through the Target, and you would just see people like rolling by with like 2 TVs in their cart, and like you'd look around and you'd be like, oh, that's an interesting deal. Like, I didn't know I needed a pair of boxer briefs with a Xbox game controller, 50% off. Interesting.
I think maybe that's how everybody convinces themselves to go out for Black Friday. Is like, I'm just looking. Yeah, I'm not actually interested in doing it.
I'm a big fan of the walk between dinner and dessert. I think that's it's like you eat all your stuffings and turkeys and go on a walk and then come back and eat pie.
Just gonna jog in place for a while. You feel a little bit healthier.
Well, it's nice and cold and you're warm from eating.
Yeah, that does sound nice. I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. Hope everyone's having a good Thanksgiving out there. Let us know. Write in if you're listening to this podcast, you have headphones in at the Thanksgiving table too. We think that's kind of fun.
Give thanks to us.
Yeah, that's right. Out loud right now. Ramses Garcia writes in and says, better quest goal for me. I'd like to be better at budgeting my playing time so I can be a good husband and boyfriend. That's nice. Do you think that just means being strict? How do you read that, Leo? Do you think that's Ramses being like, 2 hours a day or something, trying to just have a hard limit like that?
Yeah, or maybe like scheduling it so they both know, like, this amount of gaming is what I want in my life to be happy.
Right.
I want to do it at this time and we can hang out at this time.
It's not that hard. And then Ramses Garcia also says, another better quest goal I have is to complete my home theater. I have a 70-inch TV, black lights, and 5.1 surround sound. Now, Ramses, see, that's...
I don't know. You finish that, you're not going to be only playing an hour a day.
You can't do it. You have to have the crappiest setup possible so that you can be a better husband and boyfriend, please. Wait a minute. Good husband and boyfriend. Now I'm confused. Anyways, Mick Manga...
I mean, yeah, if he's balancing multiple women, you are going to have to cut down on your gameplay.
Yeah. All right, Ramses, we need more info. Mick Manga writes in and says, I have my first Better Quest goal ever. Jurassic Park is my second favorite movie. Number one is Nausicaa, of course. Of course. However, I've never read the original Jurassic Park novel, so my goal is to actually sit down and read it in a few months' time. I've heard it's pretty different, so I'm looking forward to broadening my appreciation for Jurassic Park. It is different. It is fun. It flies too. If you've never read Jurassic Park out there, everybody, you should read it. Sarah, that book flies. There's a bunch of dinosaurs in it. You'll love it. And it's scary.
It's 0 to 100.
And the last pages. 50 pages are all the
What chapter do the dinosaurs break out?
Honestly,
is it like chapter 2?
I don't think they get to the island till maybe like 100 pages in, but it's a bunch of like teases of like just dinosaur attacks because they're like sneaking out to the mainland and stuff and like eating babies' faces off. Like there's cool stuff in that book. It's pretty cool. Have you read it, Leo?
I couldn't finish it in high school.
Oh, it was too fast for you?
Yeah, I kept accidentally finishing it. I was like, I don't even know.
Crab Palace writes in and says, Avatar is overhated. I think that's right. But if Avatar 2 is the highest grossing film of the year, I will scream. And then Crab Palace says, how lucky are we that our highest budget games are challenging the status quo? Like The Last of Us Part 2 and Elden Ring, and how much longer can it last? Interesting question, Crab Palace. So it's like things...
What status quo is being challenged by Elden Ring?
I think that's a fair point to bring up Elden Ring as a bold, different type of game that's very hard and cryptic and does not hold your hand. I think there's a ton of stuff in Elden Ring.
You know what? I heard status quo as political, but just the status quo of what games are popular.
Why does everything have to be political with you, Jacob Geller?
Because that's what status quo means.
I think it's more in like game design sensibility, right? And like it's interesting they bring up Last of Us Part 2 and Elden Ring, which I think are different games, and it's cool that those games that are so bold are so successful. But then you think of Call of Duty. I mean, it's absolutely going to be the best-selling game of the year, and it's been the best-selling game for the last, decade and a half or so every single year. So you got to factor that in. But I think Crab Palace is just, if I'm trying to read the tone too much, it seems like the big popular stuff is easy and lame, and I'm worried that video games are going to be shifting more and more to that direction instead of having originality being profitable, which it seems like can still happen in a big way in the game industry.
Yeah, well, it's like, I feel like that's probably just discounting that Call of Duty, FIFA, and Madden are like the best-selling games every year.
Yeah.
It's like they're just not talked about that much. Also, look, I think The Last of Us 2 is a cool and challenging game in many ways. It's also like if you look up AAA in the dictionary, it looks like The Last of Us 2. So I kind of don't, it's like a hyper-realistic, very violent, over-the-shoulder third-person game. It's like that's just what expensive looks like in games.
Yeah. There's still enough in there, though. We're on the same page. We respect that game.
It's like, hey, top earning movie this year, Top Gun Maverick. That challenges the status quo. You didn't know they could fly a jet like that.
Hell yeah.
I will be grateful forever that indie games keep challenging the status quo and doing interesting things there. But yeah, I would hate to see AAA games go more towards the quote-unquote status quo, because I feel like I've lost love for that whole concept over the past few years because of that exact reason, feeling like it is too much of a expected thing.
I do worry about worry deep down, Leah, about your experience with God of War Ragnarok if you do play it, because I think there's a lot of that stuff that would drive you nuts about like how characters telling you the solution to the puzzle before you even are understanding what you're looking at in terms of the puzzle. It's a lot of that kind of pushing you along. Please enjoy the game. Please keep going. Please keep going. And I think that'd be frustrating for your type of gaming.
I've heard good things about the story, and if the story's good, that'll take it a long way for sure. But you better hope Sony doesn't give me a code I'm waiting for, I guess.
Christian Jimenez writes in and says, "Hi, twins versus doppelgangers. Why is it that twins..." Hang on, Sarah's already wincing. "Why is it that twins like having someone that looks like them, but if you run into someone that looks like you, it feels weird and strange?"
That? Who said I really like that someone looks exactly like me
Christian
they can't tell us apart?
Also, this is such an insane question. It's why do you like when you're related to someone and you're similar to them? But when you find
I'm sorry, I wasn't given a choice.
So if you could snap your fingers, you would make your sister, who's your twin, look completely different?
She does look completely different.
Oh, okay. So it's not
People literally don't think we're related. They always thought that I wasn't my parents' child. They were like, "Oh, did you take your daughter's friend out to Applebee's?" And my mom's like, "No, that one's mine too, actually."
They're twins, actually.
Yeah.
So you're saying...
I hate that. Moment...
Oh, yeah?
When someone goes, "Oh, is your sister older or younger than you?" That's the moment where I decide if I want to lie or not, because I don't want to have a longer conversation.
How often do people bug you about the twins thing? How often do you talk about it in your life?
Well, I mean, it's not really a big deal anymore now that we're not in the same, school, in the same grade, doing the same things anymore.
Right.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's always that moment when you're like meeting someone for the first time and they're asking about your background. And then when they find out I'm a twin, they're like, "Oh my God, do you look alike?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, sorry." And they're like, "Did you do that thing where you switch?" "No, sorry." Like,
so
"Do you like the same things?" "No, sorry."
You get like no fun benefits of the twin thing, just being fraternal twins.
No, I don't even get my own birthday.
Yeah.
Every year on that day, I have to go say happy birthday to somebody else.
You can choose a new birthday. Can't you just kind of rearrange it?
Yeah, just move it.
Yeah, why not?
It's the day after.
Yeah, the better one. The other one's just kind of a prelude to the real one. Jacob Geller, do you stand by this idea that Christian Humanist throws out there that you like twins, but that if someone looks like your doppelganger, you hate it?
I mean, I don't think I hate it. The thing is that people just, if you have dark hair and a beard and are fairly prominent online, people will just send you people who look nothing like you but have dark hair and a beard and be like, "I thought this was you."
Well, I think you need to bite your tongue, because Christian also literally says, "Is it just me or does Jacob look like Yanis Philopakis from Foals?" It's a Spanish Sahara music video. It's a reference that everybody understands.
Just making things up.
I'll send a link to just so you understand. And the answer is yes, Jacob does look like them.
I've got young Scorsese does kind of look like me. Both short kings.
Okay, all right.
But no, it's like it's not weird to like it when you look like someone you're related to, and not like it when it's a stranger.
Because they're a threat to your genes, so I think it's baked into our soul. I think
it is interesting. Yeah, it's. I don't know what the reaction would be if I agreed that I looked like someone versus just the unsolicited people.
Well, it's like, and how often do you see like a true doppelganger? Like, there's that thing with Will Ferrell and the Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer.
No, I haven't seen that.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Where it's like, I feel like most times people are not that close.
No.
But then sometimes it's really, it's really something, and then it looks scary.
Hang on, I need to look at. Good Lord, I've never seen this. That's weird. And they were on, some late night show together then? That's really bizarre. It's fun. All right, what do y'all like for question of the week? There's the twins one, the notes and manuals, the question of the week data
the
one.
Where they watched all our episodes from the past year and counted them up. And
it's pretty good.
Them.
I like the one about entertaining streams, though. Sarah, how you feeling?
I'm down for that one. I'm down for whatever.
You can't just say
I'm
that.
a cool girl.
Hey, man, this girl's cool. She can hang. Leo, what are you thinking?
Yeah, great. I think that is a good question. What makes a good stream?
Oh.
We all take it for granted, we don't often interrogate it.
Well, there we go.
I learned a lot.
There we go. Tyler Sticka, everybody. Congratulations. You just won the Mega Man X Legacy cartridge from I Am 8-Bit. Thanks, everybody, for writing in and supporting us over on Patreon there. Now it's time for something that, don't forget, is called Get a Load of This. All right. We've got it. Sarah, what do you got?
I found out that there's a secret on all Samsung phones. If you go into the phone pad and you type in *#0*#, it opens up the dev tools. You can't really see that, but they're there. And then if you click onto, let's see, sensor, and then you click on the image test, there's a Chihuahua. Every Samsung phone has this Chihuahua on it.
And you
can
that's good.
Look at that.
That's a pretty
I didn't put that on there.
It's in everybody. It's like the U2
There's
album.
a Chihuahua on every Samsung phone. Look at it.
It's really unbelievable. Leo, you got one?
Well, Sarah took mine.
Sorry.
Sorry, might get a little. This is an 1.5-hour YouTube video. It's called Disney Channel's Theme, A History Mystery of My Defunct Land. Put it on your TV and watch it like a movie with a loved one. It's absolutely incredible. It's a deep dive on the 4 notes that play at the end of the Disney Channel stingers and why we can't find who wrote that.
Oh my God, I love that. What an odd thing.
It's so, Ben, the production values are so good.
Really?
Like, just in terms of like, damn, they got motion graphics for this. Like, they did something in, Blender.
I love that.
Yeah, there's 3D sets that I thought were real life at first.
Weird. Hey, get a load of this, everybody. Sarah, remember a couple episodes back when we were in the studio and we're talking about games for elderly people or games starring elderly people? And I think we talked about Wii Sports and how it's still popular in old folks' homes and stuff during that. Somebody DM me. It's actually Nick, who's the designer of Pick
And
Pack
you wanted
Pup.
to go into every old folks' home and see if they had a Wii.
That's right. I wanted to kick the doors down.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nick, the designer of Pick Pack Pup on the Playdate, DM me this video from, is it France or Germany? I sent it to you in Slack real quick, but they took Wii Sports and made it into like an esports thing. So these elderly people are just like in an esports arena and the crowd is going nuts watching these people bowl. And it is just delightful. Great work over there, Europe. So there's a link below if you want to check that out. You got one, Jacob Geller?
Yeah, unfortunately, mine is a 2-hour, 45-minute podcast.
Oh, no.
But I'm a big fan of the Doughboys podcast, but they recently had one of the hosts of that, Mike Mitchell, on a podcast that I hadn't listened to, which was the Sloppy Boys, which is like his old improv team, but they just they talk about like cocktails and life and stuff. But it's truly just, if you like to listen to a podcast that's friends hanging out, this one is the best one because they've all been friends for a very long time. But there's this thing that I just keep laughing at and I haven't been able to like get out of my head, which is that they tell a story about one of them trying to yell, "Bring down Doritos," while like kind of drunk and having a mouthful of food. And so what he said was, "Ring dong Doringos." And I just can't stop saying "ring dong Doringos." I think it's the funniest phrase.
That's it. And that means
so
that
anyway,
you're now
the
friends
Sloppy
with them.
Boys.
Sloppy Boys podcast. Links below for all this fun stuff. Forrest with 2 R's in the Discord and the whole Get a Load of This channel. Forrest with 2 R's shares a link to a tweet, which is pointing out the credits for Pentiment and the fact that Pentiment had an Italian hand gesture consultant. And they are listed in the credits for Pentiment, which is an amazing title overall. All right. I think that's it for this episode of the MinnMax Show podcast. Thanks everybody for watching and listening and sharing and all that great stuff. We have a bunch of stuff happening on our YouTube channel, and in the bonus podcast feed is the big Thanksgiving joke-a-thon, where Leo Vader and Jeff Cork and Jeff Marchiafava and I each wrote 20 jokes about gaming in 2022, and then the community also wrote 20 jokes about gaming in 2022. And then we combined it and randomized it. So if you like people reading mediocre jokes for the first time and trying to wrap their brain around it as they're reading it out loud, that video is for you. How'd you feel like you did?
How do you think it sorry.
Leo, sorry. Can someone else ask us that question so Leo and I can sit back and not ask it to each other?
Wait, you've already recorded it?
Yeah, it's already up.
how, like, if you edited together all the seconds of dead air, how long do you think it would be?
It'd be like as long as one of your Disney Channel videos, Leo. I think it's not dead air because it has the music playing, but
that's right. And we're nodding, so Supercut would be entertaining.
It is a lot of somebody telling a joke that's a 4 out of 10, and then quiet nodding.
One point better than the Marvel game.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
We be self-deprecating about it for good reason, but there were some really good laughs.
Yeah, so it is always really fun. And again, I'm just a sucker for that format of like, oh, you're just gonna sit back and tell me a bunch of mediocre jokes. I will never look away. I could do that all day. It's delightful.
Yeah, I was re-listening to previous years in preparation and to like get a reminder of the format and stuff. And it's so hard to stop. It's so hard to pause it. It's just like another joke is coming and it could be good.
It's not, but it could be.
Skinner box of just like keep pushing the button.
That's what it is. That's it. So if you want to not be satisfied, check out the Thanksgiving joke video on MinnMax's YouTube channel. Also, yeah, the deepest dive on God of War Ragnarok. We're finishing that sucker off. So you can submit your final thoughts on the game's ending and all that fun stuff on Monday. If you're a Patreon supporter, even at that $2 tier, you can jump over there, submit your thoughts. We'll read it on the air, and you can also unlock the podcast version of that discussion because it's a beast. Also, Party Chat, our Patreon exclusive podcast. If you support us at that $5 tier, you also, you get access to this show, the MinnMax show, one day early and an ad-free version of it. And then also you get access to the podcast version of the Deepest Dives, and then also get access to Party Chat, which is a bonus podcast we do each and every week. This week, we talked about Warzone 2. We talked about Andor. A lot of fans out there buzzing about Andor, so that's where our Andor conversation is. It's in Party Chat. We talk about changes to the Deepest Dive formula, go behind the scenes, all that fun stuff. And of course, we talk about Clerks 3. Of course, we had to do the review there, so check out Party Chat. And then again, Trivia Tower, everybody. The big new episode of Trivia Tower is going to be us going against the Easy Allies community, our dear friends over there at Easy Allies. And that's Monday, November 28th at 8 p.m. Central. So if you're in the Patreon, if you join the Patreon into that $2 tier, you can jump in and compete in game trivia. You can win an Astro A40 headset, which is worth hundreds. We also have a ton of game codes to give away, stuff like Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Neon White, Stray, Little to the Left, God of War Ragnarok. We have a ton of game codes to give away, and just jump in and compete. You will have a fun time. And the nice thing is you can support MinnMax at any tier on Patreon, or you can support Easy Allies at any tier on Patreon, and you'll also get access since it's combining the communities. So if you're on the edge of supporting somebody on Patreon and it just happens to be Easy Allies, that's fine. But we want to see you there for Trivia Tower anyway. Leo Vader, how you doing?
What do you say to people who say, I don't want to compete, I'm just going to lose? I'm scared.
I say that even then, I feel that way about bar trivia, but it's a fun time. Like it will get your adrenaline pumping. It is a fun event. And I wish I didn't have to host it, because I wish that every month there's an event like this that I could just jump in, have a good time, and then always have just like those jokes, that carrot on the stick of like, I think I can win this thing. And also, Leo, let me go on about Trivia Tower, because here's another thing about it. You don't have to be an expert in every game. Like it just takes one question to get you out of that first round in particular. Just if you just happen to play a lot of the Bonkers game on Sega Genesis, just some random thing, you never know what knowledge of video games will come in handy in that. And you just get one question, and then you're home free. Then you're out of that first round. So it's not like you need to be an expert. You just got to know one game. And everybody listening to this, I'm guessing you know one game pretty well. And that's really all you need if it just happens to be the right game,
Ray Loaza in the chat says 2-time champion here. I lucked my way to victory both times.
That's not true. Ray Loaza is a monster and needs to be defeated. And maybe they will be by the Easy Allies community this Monday, everybody. Check it out. Sarah, what do you got going on?
Is this like a plug situation?
Yeah, sure.
I would like to plug Kelsey's mom's cooking channel on Twitch.
Yeah.
Dana's Kitchen, who I have been watching on and off, prepare a lovely Thanksgiving meal for her family.
Do you think
it looks delicious?
Is it too late for us to fly down to Texas and join them?
I think it is. Well, they're still cooking, so who knows?
Yeah, we played clips of it.
Dana's Kitchen.
Yeah, we watched it. If you're at the Backstage Pass tier, you can watch the unedited version of this podcast where the first 15 minutes were just all about Dana's Kitchen.
She's got like 5 camera setups.
It's
like,
amazing.
The quality is high.
Yeah, we look like schmucks. Jacob Geller, you have a new video about immortality, right?
Yeah, you still don't understand immortality after Leo and I thoroughly broke it down.
That's me.
I've got another video that you can watch, and I think it's good. I got a little DM from Sam Barlow. So,
really?
Feeling cool there. Actually, he told me
slipping into your DM.
He told me some extra info, which is like it's about a licensed song, and he was like, it really came down to the wire whether we were going to have like the money and permission to have that licensed song in there. But I wrote the script that way, and so I really wanted it.
Oh, that's nice.
So that was
awesome.
neat.
And I'm not saying that this is what we submitted for the Game Awards, just to be clear. But for the Game Awards process, we were judges this year, which was a real honor. And so everybody filled out an anonymous Google form, and then I kind of hive-minded them, and that was kind of going into it. And it was a surprise, I will say, based on just the Google form submissions that I received. I think Immortality is going to be a bigger talker during the Game of the Year discussion than I think a lot of people are bracing for, based on, I think, some people in this group and their strong opinions on it. Leo, you got anything going on, man?
I had a new video go up on patreon.com/LeoVader that I think is a fun video. I'm reacting to comments in pre-production
for
my
next
video.
It was great.
Thank you.
Sweet.
Yeah, be the first on your block to know what my next video is about.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you being here. Again, if you want to help support us at that $2 tier, you can get us to stream that cozy holiday feast. As you're full, let us also be full and give us basically, it's like a bonus episode of MinnMax, everybody, except it's going to be silly and it's going to be a lot of fun. And the chef
won't be able to eat unless we get to eat this dinner.
That's right. We're on a hunger strike until we get 100 more Patreon supporters. So please help us out. Thank you. And thank you to our Game Champion supporters at that $50 tier for choosing any game under the sun. Clayton Myers is the champion of Burnout 2 Point of Impact. Hell yeah. Nice. Patrick Polk is the champion of Bayonetta 3. Don't you forget it. Clemens is the champion of Eternal Sonata. What a great choice. And
I like that game.
Dominic Sachoki is the champion of Disaster Day of Crisis. Truly a horrific sounding game title, but a very funny game. So congratulations on being the champion there, Dominic Sachoki. And that's it for this episode. Happy holidays, everybody. We'll be back next week. Be good, have fun, let's go.